Chapter 23:37. Su Fong was finally back. After escaping from the Dao River, Su Fong had used the heavenly secret life shrinking technique to stop Goddess Luo's adoptive father from severing the karmic fate between him and Goddess Luo. He had lost a shocking amount of life force. After a period of recovery, Su Fong traveled through many planes of time and space. Along the way, he encountered countless resurrected powerhouses and other evil existences. It was only now that he arrived at the Hunyuan Heaven Realm. Second Primordial Spirit. Su Fong sensed the existence of his second primordial spirit and its current condition. His divine light changed instantly. His true body moved in the world of flames and appeared before the resurrected demon god in an instant. It's Su Fong indeed. Su Fong was the holy son of Yuan Tiangong. He was ranked at the top of the assassination list of the evil path, the demonic path, and the resurrected powerhouses. Naturally, the resurrected demon god had seen his face and recognized Su Fong at a glance. "I can't believe you're still alive. Even if you can come back from the dead, you'll still die in my hands so that I'll be rewarded greatly." The resurrected demon god laughed maniacally. A monstrous aura of death surged into the sky, breaking through Su Fong's world and sweeping towards Su Fong. This resurrected demon god was completely different from the resurrected demon gods that Su Fong had seen before. Not only did it have a clear mind and consciousness, but it also retained the divine powers it had before its resurrection. At the same time, it also had the ability to control the aura of death. Its ability was much more powerful than that of an ordinary upper-rank lord. Although it was not comparable to a peak lord, it was not far off. Kill! Su Fong immediately activated the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda. More than 2,000 powerhouses in his inner world channeled their divine vitality and energy into the life treasure. With the help of the life treasure, Su Fong's flesh and blood fused with the energy of many powerhouses. His cultivation base immediately skyrocketed, surpassing the limits of the path integration realm and reaching the height of a lord. Heavenly Tao Order Power. God-slaying saber. In his life treasure state, Su Fong controlled the heavenly Tao order power and condensed chains of order, swinging them toward the resurrected demon god from all directions. Chi. The chains of heavenly Tao order were corrupted and burned by the devilish aura that was filled with the aura of death. However, the devilish aura that had revived the demon god was also suppressed and shrunk by the heavenly Tao order. Su Fong then wielded the god-slaying saber and unleashed a white river of saber rays. His murderous aura tore apart the demonic aura of the resurrected demon god and landed on the resurrected demon god. Boom! The resurrected demon god's body was extremely strong. Su Fong's god-slaying saber slashed at his body and tore a deep wound in his chest, but it was unable to kill him. The resurrected demon god took a deep breath, and the deathly aura in the world swept over and entered his body. The wounds on his body healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. The resurrection demon god grinned sinisterly. "I'm a peerless master god. Under the power of the supreme evil god, no one can kill me unless it's a venerable emperor." "Can't kill him?" Su Fong scoffed and put away the god-slaying saber. The next moment, he took a step forward, and a golden electric current gushed out from under his skin. His divine body grew crazily and instantly turned into a majestic golden giant. Clang! Clang! Su Fong was like a god of war. As his arms shook, a giant golden palm print with a strong and domineering pure yang divine aura charged toward the resurrected demon god. Giant diamond body. Herculean divine palm. Poof! The resurrected demon god wielded a palm print and shattered the Herculean divine palm. However, he could not withstand the second palm print and was shocked to the point of spitting out demonic blood. In the blink of an eye, Su Fong took another step forward and punched out. His fist rapidly grew in size and became as astonishing as a giant mountain. The golden pure yang divine aura bombarded the resurrected demon god, shattering his body and causing demonic blood to splatter everywhere. I can't believe you've become so powerful. The resurrected demon god finally felt fear and was shocked by Su Fang's powerful strength. He turned around and escaped into the void. I'll spare your life for now. Su Fang revealed a domineering smile. From the beginning to the end, he had not used his most powerful trump card. He had defeated a resurrected demon god whose strength was close to the peak of the over-god realm with just the giant diamond body. QL11 At this moment, Su Fang's strength was as powerful as this. Swoosh. Su Fang returned to his normal state. His second primordial spirit turned into a black Xian Guang and burrowed into the divine aperture of his original body. Su Fang immediately used the divine life shrinking technique to incinerate the demonic flames enveloping the black mark. Then, his second primordial spirit merged with his original body. Su Fang instantly understood what had happened in Yuan Tiangong and the Hunyuan heaven after he left. Yuan. G people. All of you deserve to die. After learning what had happened in the Fang heaven realm, Su Fang was enraged. His fierce, murderous aura suppressed the strong aura of death around him. Swoosh. Swoosh. The great battle with the resurrected demon god and Su Fang's powerful aura had attracted the attention of countless people and resurrected experts. Who is that? What a powerful aura. Why does he look so familiar? Su Fang. He's Su Fang. Su Fang's original body has already perished in the divine prison of heaven's law. Could this be another clone of Su Fang? Many cultivators were puzzled. Swoosh. 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 More than a dozen resurrected experts charged towards Su Fang. Among these resurrected experts, there were resurrected cultivators, resurrected demon gods, and big goblin. Each of them had the strength of a lesser lord. They were the main force of this attack on the Hunyuan heaven realm. Boom! Su Fang put the monster's body back into his body, and the power of the world of yin and yang surged out from his body. With a monstrous fury, it instantly formed a universe that enveloped the dozen or so resurrected experts. Then, Su Fang activated the heavenly Tao Dharma power, and the Dharma tree emerged from the world. Rays of Yang's spirit immediately fused with the fruits on the Dharma tree. The 6 different attributes of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, and thunder, as well as the heaven underworld, a total of 7 different divine powers erupted. Boom! 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 The 7 Dharma tree were equivalent to Su Fang unleashing 7 powerful attacks at full strength. He immediately killed 3 resurrected experts and severely injured 4. The rest were also affected and suffered varying degrees of injuries. Swoosh. Swoosh. Chains of order extended from Su Fang's world. Compared to the resurrected demon god, these resurrected experts were much weaker. Moreover, they were currently situated in Su Fang's universe. The chains formed from the power of heavenly Tao order were unparalleled in power. They instantly bound the remaining 9 resurrected experts firmly. Die, all of you! Su Fang's voice, filled with the will of the heavenly Tao, reverberated in the world as if announcing the death of these resurrected experts. The 9 suns' divine fire quickly burned fiercely in the world, enveloping the resurrected experts and burning them madly. A total of 9 resurrected experts were all burned to ashes in less than half an hour. More than a dozen resurrected experts, who were equivalent to ordinary gods, were killed so easily. This immediately shocked everyone present. The human cultivators were all shocked and ecstatic. The resurrected experts who had consciousness revealed an instinctive fear and subconsciously kept retreating. Su Fang withdrew the divine power of the world. His domineering gaze swept across the many cultivators and resurrected experts. He said majestically, I, Su Fang, am back. Su Fang, he's Su Fang's original body. Su Fang's original body didn't die and has returned from the divine prison of law. An uproar instantly rose into the sky and swept in all directions like a tide, completely suppressing the voices of the resurrected experts. Master! The cultivators of the heavenly realm came forward one after another. After confirming that it was Su Fang's original body that had returned, they were all overjoyed. After the first ancestor of the Ji people became a sovereign and took charge of the Hunyuan heaven realm, those who could stay in the heavenly realm were all loyal subordinate. Some were from the Shu clan, and some were subordinates that Su Fang had subdued in the resting land of the gods. Not many experts were recruited later. Those who had stayed on the blood wall until now had a slim chance of survival. Coupled with the humiliation that the heavenly realm had suffered over the years, when they suddenly saw Su Fang's original body, they were like children who had been lost for many years suddenly seeing their parents. They burst into tears. "I've let you suffer. I, Su Fang, promise that from today onwards, no one will dare to wantonly humiliate my subordinate. Now, let's see how this master will avenge you." Su Fang was moved. At the same time, the killing intent in his heart became even stronger. He took the surviving subordinates of the heavenly realm into his inner world. On the way to the Hunyuan heaven realm, Su Fang had killed many cultivators who tried to kill him and seized a lot of resources. Now, he took them all out and distributed them to his subordinate. Because he was worried about Xuanxin, Su Fang was burning with anxiety. He went straight to the Hunyuan heaven realm's world barrier. Who knew a thunderous shout could be heard? Su Fang's original body has already fallen. This person must be a reincarnated expert in disguise. Listen to this master's order, quickly join forces to suppress him. It turned out that it was the Ji people's expert Ji Shao. When he saw Su Fang return, his hatred of the past made him lose his mind. He ordered all the cultivators to kill Su Fang. The cultivators of the Hunyuan heaven realm hesitated. After seeing the powerful strength that Su Fang had just displayed, no one dared to go forward and throw away their lives. Jumping clown! Su Fang reached out and grabbed at the air. His divine aura instantly enveloped Ji Shao, forcibly grabbing him from the protection of many experts. This master is a member of the Ji people. Under the orders of the Supreme Ji Emperor, I am responsible for the defense of the blood wall. Even if you are really Su Fang, how dare you kill this master? Unless you don't want your family and friends in the heavenly realm to live. If you dare to kill this master, my race's supreme sovereign will destroy the entire heavenly realm. Ji Shao was shackled by Su Fang, but he was still domineering and arrogant. Su Fang has killed many of the Ji people, including your Ji people's second ancestor. Not only will I kill you, but I will also destroy the Ji people. I will even kill the Ji people's first ancestor, Ji Huang, whom you worship as the heavenly Tao, Su Fang said coldly. Ji Shao snorted. Arrogant, shameless boasting, you overestimate yourself. You're just an ant. Why should I explain anything to you? Flames flashed in Su Fang's eyes. When they landed on Ji Shao, they immediately burned fiercely. Chapter 23:38. Su Fang used his power at the Great Perfection stage and then used his divine might to capture over 100 cultivators. They were the experts of the Ji people, Sanskrit, and Big Dipper sect. Including the patriarch of the Sanskrit sect and the sect master of the Big Dipper sect, they were all late-stage Tao integration experts. However, under Su Fang's divine might, they were like weak chickens, unable to resist at all. Su Fang, the enmity between you and the Sanskrit has long been settled. Why won't you let the Sanskrit go? The patriarch of the Sanskrit shouted in shock and anger. The sect master of the Big Dipper sect trembled. The Big Dipper sect didn't do anything to your Fang heaven realm. We only offended you with our words. Lord Su Fang, please be magnanimous and let the Big Dipper sect go this time. Su Fang, you dare to kill the Ji people. The supreme sovereign of our race will definitely not let you go. Su Fang, spare our lives. The experts of the Sanskrit Ji people and Big Dipper sect all spoke out. Some begged for mercy while others threatened loudly. Su Fang, the resurrected experts are about to attack the Hunyuan heaven realm. As a Yuan Tiangong genius, how can you slaughter the experts of our human race at this time? Some of the king god experts guarding the blood wall all spoke out to dissuade Su Fang. What does the resurrected experts attacking the Hunyuan heaven realm have to do with me? My family and friends have suffered all kinds of humiliation and bullying in the Hunyuan heaven realm. My Dao companion was forced into marriage by Diyuan, who spoke up for them. I, Su Fang, have always been the kind of person who will return a punch 10 times over. These people all deserve to die. Su Fang's voice was filled with cruelty. As soon as his voice fell, he waved his hand and a bloody water engulfed over 100 experts of the Ji people, Sanskrit and Big Dipper sect. Su Fang, the Sanskrit of the ancient god realm will definitely not let you go. The patriarch of the Sanskrit roared angrily. Su Fang, you'll die a horrible death. Mournful screams and angry curses rose and fell in the bloody water. Su Fang sucked these people and their blood directly into his body and handed them over to Gue Gue to deal with. When the Yuan Tiangong experts saw this scene, they trembled with fear. Su Fang headed straight for the Hunyuan heaven realm. The resurrected experts had breached a huge hole in the world barrier, through which countless resurrected experts were pouring into the Hunyuan heaven realm. QL11. As soon as the Su Fang appeared, thousands of resurrected experts swarmed over. Boom! Su Fang urged the power of fire to burn the nearby resurrected powerhouses to death. Then, his figure flickered and he entered the Hunyuan heaven world. Hunyuan heaven realm, I, Su Fang, am back. Looking up at the Shaoyang divine sun and Shaoyin divine moon in the Hunyuan heaven realm, Su Fang's eyes flashed with determination and fierce killing intent. He projected the power of the Yin-Yang divine world. His figure instantly moved wherever the divine power reached. In just 10 breaths of time, he arrived in the sky above the heaven realm. His perfect vision swept across the heaven realm. Seeing the heaven realm decorated with lanterns and colored banners, Su Fang's eyes seemed to be frozen, and the fierce aura in his heart suddenly became several times stronger. Then, Su Fang sensed that his father, Su Yaotian, Xian Yintian, Xian Lingzi, Shu Yunkong, and the others were all not in the heaven realm. Outside the enchantment of the heavenly realm, there was also a powerful enchantment created by the strong to seal the entire heavenly realm. At this time, the heaven realm was like a huge prison. This scene made the anger in Su Fang's heart enough to burn the world. The golden rainbow monarch's voice came from the inner world. Su Fang, you have to think clearly. Next, you will face a supreme sovereign and the imperial people. So what? You are now directly clashing with a sovereign and even offending the imperial people. It is equivalent to smashing an egg against a rock. Mortals in the mortal world all know that it is never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. Su Fang replied coldly, "Are you trying to persuade me to swallow my anger? Of course you can't swallow your anger. Your Taoist companion has been snatched away. If you swallow your anger, won't you become a turtle and a bastard? I am advising you to think of another way. It is not suitable to clash with the sovereign and the imperial people." Golden Rainbow Monarch, I understand what you mean. But this time, if I don't kill, I will be letting down my family and friends, and even more so, Xuanxin. But, don't worry, I am definitely not blinded by hatred. I have my own way of dealing with the aftermath. He ended the communication with the Golden Rainbow Monarch. Su Fang was about to break the boundary and take everyone in the heaven realm into his inner world. Suddenly a strong and domineering aura suddenly descended and enveloped Su Fang. A middle-aged man in white emerged from nothingness. It was the imperial people powerhouse guarding the heaven realm of Hunyuan. His cultivation had reached the level of a middle-rank lord. Su Fang had sensed this person's presence long ago, but he did not want to waste too much time here, so he did not expose him. He did not expect this person to appear of his own accord. Who are you? The heaven realm has been sealed by the supreme imperial people. Before the wedding ceremony of the Emperor Yuan's holy son ends, no one is allowed to enter or leave. Su Fang. How is that possible? The imperial people's Lord Powerhouse was still acting high and mighty in the beginning. When he saw Su Fang's face clearly, his expression changed instantly. His eyes were filled with disbelief. That's right, I am Su Fang. I am back. Su Fang's cold voice was like a cold wind from hell. Su Fang has died a long time ago. Who are you in disguise? The imperial people's powerhouse shouted domineeringly. Scram if you don't want to die. Su Fang snorted coldly. Swish. Su Fang activated the god-slaying saber and slashed at the barrier sealing the heaven realm. Su Fang's saber tore a hole in the powerful barrier, which could withstand a lord's attack. Even if you really are Su Fang, how dare you act so presumptuously in front of me? Surrender now, lest I kill you by accident. The imperial people's powerhouse activated a wave of divine might. It felt as if the power of the entire heaven realm of Hunyuan was under his control. It enveloped Su Fang and was about to suppress Su Fang. You're just a mere middle-rank lord, Su Fang scoffed. With his current ability, he really did not think much of a middle-rank lord powerhouse. After forming the hand seal, a powerful force that seemed capable of splitting heaven and earth shattered the imperial people's divine might layer by layer. Heaven opening seal. Su Fang's figure flashed, and he took a step forward. His physical body shattered into pieces, turning into bloody water that gushed out. A bloody dome quickly formed in the sky. Under the cooperation of the heaven realm's divine might, heaven underworld immediately formed a reincarnation realm. Sizzle! Blood shadow clones floated out of the realm, and bloody claws extended from the bloody dome. As the bloody water swirled and whistled, it released a powerful devouring divine might. The imperial people's powerhouse's life force was being devoured at an alarming rate. His expression changed drastically, and he immediately unleashed all his strength, charging out of the heaven underworld realm. After sensing it, the imperial people's powerhouse was shocked to discover that more than a layer of his life force had been devoured in the span of a mere dozen breaths. Imperial people's powerhouses are indeed extraordinary. Ordinary middle-rank lords can't be compared to them. Su Fang reformed his physical body again, revealing a disdainful expression. Then, he shouted domineeringly, seeing that you're an imperial people, I'll spare your life this time. Next time, I won't just devour your blood chi, I'll devour your bloodline and soul directly. Cram. The imperial people's powerhouse was extremely furious. However, his eyes were filled with fear. Su Fang shouted loudly toward the heaven realm, I'm Su Fang. I'm back. Su Fang. Who are you? Why are you pretending to be Su Fang? Shameless G people. If you want to kill me, just kill me. Why do you have to resort to such despicable means? If you're Su Fang, I, the great monk Shangde, am a heavenly venerable. Where did this B** starred come from? How dare you pretend to be Su Fang? Scram! Furious roars came from the heaven realm. Su Fang was extremely familiar with every voice. The great monk Shangde's voice, in particular, left Su Fang unsure whether to laugh or cry. Enter my inner world, all of you! Su Fang had no time to explain. He projected the power of his inner world and immediately enveloped the entire heaven realm. Come in. Rumble. The heaven realm slowly rose under Su Fang's divine might. The remaining barriers sealing the heaven realm shattered layer by layer. Finally, the heaven realm was directly absorbed into Su Fang's body through his right palm and sent into his inner world. Then, Su Fang stripped his sun spirit and entered the heaven realm. Su Fang is really back. Master isn't dead. He's still alive. There's hope for the heaven realm now. Master, the great monk has sinned. Please spare my life, After confirming that it was really Su Fang's true body that had returned, the heaven realm immediately erupted with cheers and cries. While Su Fang was absorbing the heaven realm, the Imperial People's expert was hesitant and fearful. He could only watch as Su Fang absorbed the heaven realm into his inner world. Whoosh! A figure walked out of nothingness. Seeing this person, Su Fang's eyebrows furrowed. The murderous intent in his eyes suddenly became fierce. Ji Lai. Ji Lai said loudly to the Imperial People's expert, "Lord Imperial People, I received news from the Blood Wall that this person is a resurrected expert in disguise. He was the one who led the resurrected experts to break the Hunyuan Heaven Realm's world barrier. You and I will work together to suppress him." At this time, Ji Lai had already confirmed Su Fang's identity, but he insisted that he was a resurrected expert in disguise. He obviously intended to kill Su Fang before alarming the higher-ups of the Yuan Tiangong. Third Ji, you're courting death. How could Su Fang not see through Ji Lai's thoughts? From his second primordial spirit's memories, Su Fang knew that the injustice, bullying, and humiliation that the heaven realm had suffered over the years was all thanks to the third Ji people's patriarch. Now that he had delivered himself to his doorstep, it was time to settle old and new grudges. Su Fang quickly formed a seal and struck out a shocking seal. Yin Yang change. At this time, Su Fang had successfully formed his 72nd Yang meridian and stepped into the 8th change. Using the yin-yang change no longer consumed as much energy as before. After using it once, he could not use it again. He deeply hated the third Ji people's patriarch, so he used one of his trump cards to kill him in one blow. Ji Lai used his divine power to isolate the surroundings. His eyes, filled with hatred, swept over Su Fang. Just now, I heard that you easily defeated a resurrected demon god comparable to an upper-rank lord. You even single-handedly killed more than a dozen resurrected experts at the level of a lower-rank lord. I'd like to see if you've truly defied the heavens after coming out of the prison suppression codex. Chapter 2339. Peerless Flower of the Heavenly Tao. Su Fang formed a seal and formed a flower of the heavenly Tao that emitted a dazzling glow. In the next moment, the divine power of the heavenly Tao's heavenly cycle surged out of his body and enveloped the flower of the heavenly Tao. Yin-yang change. Su Fang formed a shocking seal. As the flower of the heavenly Tao spun, it kept changing its dazzling luster. A kind of supreme divine power evolved from the heavenly Tao, erupted from the flower of the heavenly Tao, and enveloped Ji Lai. Feeling the terrifying divine power of the yin-yang change, Ji Lai's divine light changed instantly. Then, his defense and divine body rapidly disintegrated under the divine power of the yin-yang change, reverting to its most primitive state. The Imperial People's experts who were about to attack suddenly changed their expressions and retreated quickly. The arrogance and disdain on Ji Lai's face instantly disappeared. He shouted loudly, "First Ancestor, save me! I didn't expect that a mere ascended cultivator from back then would grow to such a level now. With the cultivation of the Tao integration realm, you can actually kill a peerless master god so easily. Su Fang, you're indeed extraordinary. You're qualified for me to personally attack you." A voice that sounded like the voice of the heavenly Tao resounded majestically in Su Fang's ears. Then, a divine power suddenly descended and forcibly interrupted Su Fang's yin-yang change. A young man in his early 20s quickly condensed in front of Su Fang. The Ji people's first ancestor? Su Fang used his perfected ability and scanned this young man. Sensing the aura of nothingness, his expression instantly became serious. Su Fang smiled domineeringly. "This isn't my true body. It's just a clone formed by a wisp of my primordial spirit consciousness." This young man was the Ji people's first ancestor. His true body didn't descend personally, and his strength wasn't at the D-venerable level. However, he was even more terrifying than the peak master gods that Su Fang had seen before. The Ji people's first ancestor said indifferently, "My true body is currently in the Yuan Tiangong's Dubhe space to participate in the marriage ceremony between your Dao companion and Di Yuan, so I have no time to appear. If I need my true body to suppress a mere Dao integration cultivator like you, then wouldn't I become the biggest joke in the entire universe? Then I'll kill your doppelganger first, then I'll kill your true body." Su Fang shouted coldly. Ji Lai, who had just escaped death, laughed disdainfully. "Su Fang, did you become an idiot in the divine prison of heavenly law?" He was so arrogant that he wanted to kill a supreme sovereign? "In the Hunyuan heaven realm, I, the Ji people's sovereign, am the heavens. Killing you is as easy as crushing an ant. If this is really heaven, then my Su Fang will break this heaven today." A heaven-defying aura erupted from Su Fang's body. With a flip of his right hand, a divine artifact appeared in his grasp. This divine artifact was a pitch-black book. It was incomplete and looked like a tattered book that couldn't be any more tattered. However, the book was filled with a cold and strict aura of the heavenly Tao, which made the doppelganger of the Ji people's first ancestor feel his heart palpitate. The Imperial People's Powerhouse exclaimed, "The prison-suppressing codex! That's the prison-suppressing codex of the divine prison of heavenly law." The divine artifact Su Fang took out was the prison-suppressing codex. Due to the corruption of the death chi, the prison-suppressing codex was severely damaged. Su Fang placed it in the Hunyuan sacred mirror, and used his yang spirit to activate the array inside the ancient mirror to continuously refine the death chi and then merge it. At this time, the prison-suppressing codex's power was less than 1/10. Moreover, Su Fang hadn't completely merged it, so the power it could display was far from its peak state. However, the prison-suppressing codex was a divine artifact of heavenly law after all. It was more than enough to deal with a doppelganger condensed from the consciousness of a supreme sovereign. "I didn't expect that not only could you escape from the divine prison of heavenly law, but you also obtained the supreme divine artifact of the divine prison of heavenly law." The Ji people's first ancestor looked at the prison-suppressing codex with incomparable vigor. Then, he shouted coldly, "What right does a mere Dao integration cultivator like you have to possess such a supreme divine artifact? Give it to me." Ji Lai transmitted his primordial spirit to remind the Ji people's first ancestor, "Don't kill him. He must know a lot of secrets since he was able to escape from the divine prison of heavenly law. Also, the second ancestor's whereabout. After suppressing him, use the soul search on him. I, Su Fang, am not qualified to possess the prison-suppressing codex. Do you think you are qualified?" Su Fang snorted inexplicably. He performed a hand seal, injecting his magic power and the power of the heavenly Tao order into the prison-suppressing codex. The prison-suppressing codex immediately floated up, and the tattered pages opened. He can actually activate the divine artifact of heavenly law. The Ji people's first ancestor was shocked. He released a burst of divine power, wanting to take the prison-suppressing codex away. However, the prison-suppressing codex only swayed for a moment before remaining still. The divine power of a supreme sovereign was unable to move the prison-suppressing codex. Whoosh, whoosh. Streaks of ice-cold black Xian Guang erupted from the suppressing prison codex and quickly condensed into imprint. They intertwined into a huge prison and fell towards the Ji people's first ancestor. Not good. The divine light of the Ji people's first ancestor changed. Just as he was about to escape, the Ji people's first ancestor was shocked to find that everything around him was shackled by the supreme power of the heavenly Tao order. The astonishing power of the shackles seeped into his body and shackled his primordial spirit. Even though he was a venerable sovereign's clone, it was difficult for him to escape. Boom! The prison suddenly descended, shackling the clone of the Ji people's first ancestor. Then, the suppressing Hell Codex exploded with an astonishing twisting divine power. The prison flew towards the suppressing Hell Codex and quickly turned into nothingness. It turned into a black Xian Guang and landed on the pages of the suppressing Hell Codex. In the end, it turned into a lifelike picture. The suppressing prison codex slowly closed and was absorbed into Su Fang's body. How is this possible? Ji Lai was dumbfounded and even forgot to run for his life. That was a venerable sovereign. Although the current first ancestor of the Ji people was only a clone condensed from the consciousness of a venerable sovereign's primordial spirit, he had the supreme strength of a peak Lord-level expert. Yet, he was suppressed by a path integration cultivator using a divine weapon. It's your turn now. Su Fang used an astonishing amount of magic power, primordial spirit, and order power to activate the suppressing Hell Codex. His face turned pale, but his murderous aura did not diminish at all. The heavenly Tao Dharma idol was projected out of his body again. A beam of Yang spirit flew out and quickly merged with the black and white fruit at the top of the Dharma idol tree. Boom! The Yang spirit that merged with the black and white fruit used the yin-yang change and exploded with an astonishing power. The third ancestor of the Ji people had reached the height of a middle-rank Lord-level expert. He was also a powerful expert in the myriad worlds. Moreover, this person was vicious and merciless. He had once slaughtered a major world in a fit of rage. He was infamous for his ferocity. However, at this moment, under the divine power of the yin-yang change, the third ancestor of the Ji people's divine body and primordial spirit rapidly collapsed layer by layer, reverting back to his original state. This indicated that his life was about to come to an end. The third ancestor of the Ji people used the great Tao of heavenly sound. His divine body turned illusory and transformed into a sound wave state, trying to escape the divine power of the yin-yang change. However, all his efforts were in vain. He roared madly, "Su Fang, if you dare to kill me, the supreme sovereign of my people will never let you go. He will definitely pull out your tendons and skin you alive. Why does every Ji people have to say such nonsense before I kill them?" Su Fang scoffed. Then, he shouted domineeringly, "I can only repeat myself. The Ji people's first ancestor can't save you, nor can he save the Ji people. The Ji people will be destroyed by me sooner or later. Even that first ancestor will not be able to escape my suppression. By the way, I'll let you know that your second ancestor of the Ji people has already died in my hands. With him accompanying you in the netherworld, you won't feel lonely. I hate you so much. If I had known this would happen, I would have killed you directly back in the Azure Dome starfield." How would this happen? The third ancestor of the Ji people roared in despair and unwillingness. His voice gradually weakened under the terrifying divine power of the yin-yang change. In the end, his entire being turned into a wisp of chaotic aura and was absorbed into Su Fang's body. As expected of a middle-rank Lord Powerhouse, the wisp of chaotic aura refined by the yin-yang change allowed Su Fang's depleted energy to recover rapidly. It was estimated that in less than 2 hours, Su Fang would be restored to his peak state. "Master is mighty. Ji Lai, I didn't expect you to have such a day." Su Fang unleashed his divine power to kill the third ancestor of the Ji people. All his subordinates in the heaven realm in his inner world saw it clearly. They saw that Ji Lai, a middle-rank lord, was like the heavenly Tao in the eyes of many heaven realm cultivators. He was high and mighty. Now that he had been killed so easily by Su Fang, all of them cheered loudly. All the hatred and anger that had accumulated in their hearts over the years had been completely vented. The Imperial People Powerhouse witnessed the Ji people's first ancestor's clone being suppressed by Su Fang. He also saw Su Fang kill the Ji people's third ancestor as if he were slaughtering a chicken. He was utterly shocked. He looked at Su Fang as if he was looking at a supreme sovereign. Su Fang smiled coldly as he looked at the Imperial People Powerhouse. The Imperial People Powerhouse snorted. Su Fang, do you think you're so powerful that you can fight even the supreme imperial people and kill me? I didn't kill you not because I'm afraid of the imperial people, but because you were only ordered to seal off the heaven realm. You didn't kill anyone from the heaven realm. Otherwise, no matter who you are, Su Fang would never let you go. Su Fang flew toward the entrance of the Yuan Tiangong in embarrassment. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The many heaven punishers guarding the entrance of the Yuan Tiangong blocked Su Fang's path. Su Fang. The heaven punishers were all shocked when they saw Su Fang's face. Let him in. The imperial people powerhouse shouted. The heaven punishers made way for the entrance. Su Fang took out his son's saint identity token. He didn't expect it to still be usable. It released a protective divine power. Su Fang calmly entered the Yuan Tiangong. I'm afraid there's going to be a big mess this time, the middle-aged imperial people powerhouse sighed. He immediately took out a rune talisman and sent a message to the upper echelons of the imperial people. Tianshu. In the splendid inner space of the palace, the wedding ceremony of Di Yuan and Xuanxin had already begun. In the huge space that was decorated with a joyous atmosphere, almost all the important figures of the heaven realm had appeared, including the supreme existences of the imperial people and the upper echelons of the imperial people. QL11, there were more than 30 supreme sovereigns in the heaven realm. At this moment, 18 of them had appeared. However, most of them were clones. It was rare for them to appear with their original bodies like the first ancestor of the G people. Chapter 2340. Among the many divine clans, the cultivators of the divine Phoenix clan were in high spirit. The marriage between Xuanxin and Di Yuan had raised the status of the divine Phoenix clan among the Yuan Tiangong. How could the cultivators of the divine Phoenix clan not be happy? The other divine clans of the ancient god world, especially the divine dragon clan, looked at the cultivators of the divine Phoenix clan with envy and even jealousy. Feeling the gazes of the other divine clans, the clan leader of the divine Phoenix clan was very proud. At the same time, she was secretly glad. Fortunately, Su Fang is dead. Otherwise, how could Di Yuan marry Xuanxin? How could we have the status of our clan in the future? Not only supreme emperors, but most of the overgods had also come to participate in the marriage ceremony. Xing Wuji and Emo Tiangong were also among them. Their faces were gloomy, and their eyes were filled with anger. Xing Wuji secretly transmitted his voice. I used to think that Di Yuan was modest and polite. I didn't expect him to be so overbearing. He forced Su Fang's cultivation partner and even forced Su Fang's family and friends to attend the ceremony. He has gone too far. Emo Tiangong secretly sighed. After Di Yuan failed at the celestial worthy mountain, his temperament changed drastically. Now, he suddenly has the great merit of saving the universe. So what if he's overbearing? It's a pity that Su Fang, such a peerless genius, died prematurely. Xing Wuji said hatefully, I suspect that the so-called great merit of saving the universe is nothing but a lie. Emo Tiangong quickly stopped him. Farmers, don't invite trouble. You and I are both independent cultivators. The imperial people are not people we can offend. While the two were angry about Di Yuan's behavior and sighing for Su Fang, there were also people who were happy about Su Fang's experience. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord was one of them. During the selection ceremony of the Artifact Hall, Heavenly Fire Divine Lord was forced to leave the Artifact Hall and went into seclusion for a long time. He was too ashamed to see anyone. Only when news of Su Fang's death spread did Heavenly Fire Divine Lord come out of seclusion. At this moment, his heart was naturally filled with incomparable joy. Su Fang is arrogant and despotic. His premature death is something that will happen sooner or later. It's just a pity that the purple Qi Dharma spirit around the central high platform where the ceremony was held, Su Yaotian, Xian Yintian, Xu Yunkong, Xian Lingzi, and other elders of Su Fang, as well as Li Haojie, the Lord of Five Poisons, Zhang Ruoyun, Lan Haiqing, and other friends from the macro world were sitting in the most eye-catching positions. There was also Su Fang's doppelganger, which was especially eye-catching here. They seemed to be treated as honored guests, but in reality, the maids around them were all experts sent by the imperial people to keep an eye on them. As long as they made the slightest move, these maids could easily shackle them. Su Fang's doppelganger was expressionless. His other relatives and friends either had gloomy or angry expressions. The ceremony was presided over by a big shot of the imperial people. He was a dignified old man with an ethereal aura. Although he was not a supreme venerable one, he was only one step away from the supreme venerable one. The dignified old man first wantonly announced Di Yuan's extraordinary talent and his peerless contribution to saving the universe. Then, he also praised Xuanxin without restraint. When Di Yuan appeared, a sound of nature rang out from the void. Flower petals danced in the air, bringing with them a strange fragrance. It made everyone's spirits rise, and they felt refreshed. Then, from the array on the right, hundreds of beautiful women shuttled through the array. Then, Di Yuan slowly flew out. Swoosh! Swoosh! At this moment, Di Yuan was dressed in a long golden robe, which made him look even more heroic and extraordinary. His entire body exuded a majestic aura, as if he was a supreme being who ruled the world. His eyes were filled with a disdainful attitude, as if he regarded all living beings as ants. In the inner space of the palace, there were waves of praises. Even the supreme venerable ones nodded repeatedly. Then, Xuanxin walked out from the array on the other side, surrounded by many women. At this moment, Xuanxin was dressed in a long red robe embroidered with a divine phoenix pattern formed by mysterious heavenly marks. She wore a phoenix crown on her head, and the aura of treasures overflowed from her body, making her face look hazy. However, there was a chilly aura exuding from her body, like an iceberg that would never melt. Just as everyone was looking at her, the supreme venerable one of the imperial people, who was watching the ceremony in the front row, frowned slightly and then relaxed. It turned out that he had suddenly sensed that the connection between the clone he left in the Hunyuan heaven realm and his original body had suddenly been cut off. However, he did not take it to heart. Although there were many resurrected experts attacking the Hunyuan heaven realm, it was unlikely that a resurrected expert who could kill his clone would appear. A moment later, a high-ranking imperial people also raised his eyebrows. It turned out that a rune talisman in his storage ring had stirred. At this critical moment of the marriage ceremony, the high-ranking imperial people sealed the rune talisman and no longer paid any attention to it. On the high platform, everyone, the majestic old man of the imperial people stretched out his hand and grabbed a scroll. A supreme divine power that transcended heaven and earth spread out from the scroll. Everyone was in awe and reverence as they stood up one after another. Even the peerless sovereigns, including the peerless powerhouses of the monarch clan, stood up respectfully with deep expressions. In order to celebrate the marriage between Di Yuan and Huang Xuanxin, the supreme expert of the imperial people, the guardian of the celestial mountain, a supreme existence that transcends heaven and earth, has specially written a calligraphy to congratulate the two of them. The majestic old man of the imperial people said proudly. An uproar of exclamations sounded. The majestic old man of the imperial people unfolded the scroll. On the scroll, there were 4 large golden words, a match made in heaven. Every stroke contained the profound mysteries of the heavenly Tao, especially the word heaven. Looking at this word made people feel as if they were facing the heavenly Tao. A kind of reverence would involuntarily arise in their hearts at a glance. A transcendent expert. He actually personally sent a congratulatory gift for Di Yuan. It could be seen that he valued Di Yuan. Everyone who came to watch the ceremony was extremely envious. From this, it could be concluded that Di Yuan would definitely be the #1 person in the universe in the future. His power and strength would be limitless. Just as everyone was feeling shocked and envious, suddenly the 4 words on the scroll quickly turned into nothingness. In an instant it disappeared without a trace. Immediately after, the picture scroll burst into flames with a chi sound. It turned into ashes at a very fast speed and drifted away. This sudden turn of events caught everyone off guard. They were all shocked and stunned. The inner space of the palace instantly became deathly silent. The supreme existence of the imperial people raised his sword-like eyebrows as doubt and shock surged in his eyes. The majestic old man of the imperial people, who presided over the ceremony, reacted extremely quickly. The calligraphy of the supreme expert of heaven and earth is not something that we can read for a long time. Therefore, we were blinded by the heavenly Tao. Everyone was skeptical, but no one dared to say a word. Xing Wuji secretly sent a voice transmission to Mo Tiangong. Diyuan is so domineering that even the heavenly Tao can't tolerate him. Mo Tiangong snorted. Why don't you send down a bolt of heavenly lightning and directly kill him? The majestic old man of the imperial people laughed loudly and shouted, I announce that the peerless genius of our race, Yuan Tiangong's holy son Diyuan, and the genius of the heavenly realm Dojo, Phoenix Xuanxin, who came from the ancient divine Phoenix clan, have become, wait. It turned out that it was Su Fang's clone. He suddenly stood up, and his cold voice roared like a cold wind. The maidservant beside him instantly released a divine aura that shackled Su Fang's clone. She secretly threatened, if you don't want your race to be destroyed, sit there obediently. At this moment, Diyuan suddenly said, let him finish. The maidservant had no choice but to release Su Fang's clone. Su Fang's clone clanged. Xuanxin is Su Fang's Tao companion. I definitely won't agree to this marriage. After a moment of silence, a burst of laughter rang out in the palace. Some people wantonly mocked and even cursed, while others shook their heads and sighed. Although Su Fang had died, he still had his clone and second primordial spirit. Strictly speaking, he was not really dead. However, his clone and second primordial spirit did not have the strength of his main body, nor did they have the heaven-defying cultivation talent of his main body. Naturally, they were ignored by everyone. The thousands of worlds followed the natural law of the jungle. Coupled with the fact that the heavenly Tao had lost its order, the world of cultivators had also lost its laws and rules. The law of the jungle was especially obvious. Moreover, Diyuan was currently at the peak of his power, while Su Fang was already considered a dead genius. Who would take his clone seriously? Diyuan revealed a domineering smile. I saved thousands of worlds. What can I get? As for you, who do you think you are? Even if your main body is still here, if I want your woman, you have to obediently obey. Such arrogant words made the peerless imperial people raise their eyebrows. They could also see that Diyuan seemed to have changed into a different person. Su Fang, your clone is also an embarrassment to Su Fang. It's better to destroy it. As soon as Diyuan's voice fell, a domineering divine aura enveloped Su Fang's clone. At that moment, Xuanxin suddenly said coldly, Diyuan, I also don't agree to the marriage. Are you going to kill me too? Phoenix Xuanxin, don't talk nonsense. The expressions of the divine Phoenix ancient race's upper echelons changed drastically, and they all angrily rebuked Xuanxin. QL11 resentment flashed across Diyuan's eyes. He then said casually, whether I agree or not, it's not up to you. It's up to me. Xuanxin took off the phoenix crown on his head. His beautiful face was as cold as ice. I've already devoured Nye? Dan. There was an uproar below the high platform. The peerless imperial people, as well as those sovereigns, swept their divine light over Xuanxin and immediately sensed Nye? Dan's aura. All of them were shocked. The peerless imperial people snorted coldly. Nye? Even though he was the strongest cultivator below the transcendence level, he could do nothing about Nye? The divine Phoenix ancient race's leader trembled, and her face instantly turned as pale as paper. It's over now. Not only did all her beautiful dreams come to nothing, but she had also completely offended Di Yuan and the imperial people. How could the divine phoenix ancient race survive in Yuan Tiangong in the future? Di Yuan's handsome face instantly became ferocious. You'd rather die than become my cultivation partner? Xuanxin said indifferently. You only treat me as a tool to vent your Su Fang. When have you ever treated me as your cultivation partner? Other than your background being nobler than Su Fang, which part of you can compare to Su Fang? I only have hatred and disdain for you. Di Yuan said coldly, that's right. I do treat you like everything. Even if you die, you won't be able to escape my control. Then, he shouted coldly at the peerless imperial people, continue the ceremony. Chapter 23:41. Hearing this voice, Xuanxin's eyes, which were originally deathly still, instantly blossomed with an astonishingly bright light. It's Fang Er. Fang Er's original body is back. Su Yaotian's spirits were lifted, and his face was filled with ecstasy. This is impossible. The eyes of the supreme imperial people flickered, and they suddenly stood up from their seats. Whoosh! While the voice was still reverberating, a figure appeared on the central platform with the divine power of the world of yin and yang. Swoosh! Swoosh! Countless gazes instantly focused on this figure. Su Fang! The aura of the eighth firmament of the Tao integration stage. This person isn't Su Fang's clone, but his original body. Su Fang's original body actually didn't die. The suppressing prison codex has merged with the river of the heavenly Tao. Even a transcendent expert would find it difficult to save the person trapped in the suppressing prison codex. Su Fang actually escaped from the suppressing prison codex. How is this possible? Incredulous exclamations converged into stormy waves in the space of the palace, wantonly sweeping through the area. However, Su Fang's attention was completely focused on Xuanxin. Why did you take the nirvana? Dan, how could you be so stupid? Su Fang's heart throbbed with pain. Su Fang had felt this kind of pain not long ago, but he already couldn't remember what had happened. You're finally back. I knew you would definitely come back. Xuanxin melted like an iceberg, and tears instantly fell like rain. Only now did she show the weakness of a woman. At the side, Di Yuan was in disbelief at first. Then, he thought of the scene of failure on the celestial worthy mountain and the words of the supreme imperial people. If Su Fang was here, he would definitely be able to enter the celestial worthy mountain. Di Yuan's eyes flashed with resentment, and he shouted coldly at the dignified old man from the Di clan, "This person ruined this holy son's marriage ceremony, quickly suppress him. Su Fang, go to the punishment hall immediately and report what happened in the divine prison of heaven." The majestic elder of the imperial people rolled out a divine power, and it instantly turned from illusion to reality, forming a large net that fell toward Su Fang. Scram! Su Fang let out a roar like thunder. A dark Xian Guang rolled out from his right palm and turned into the prison-suppressing codex. Xuanxin's devouring nirvana? Dan's chances of survival were slim. When he saw his father, family, and friends being humiliated, Su Fang's killing intent soared to the heavens. His first move was the prison-suppressing codex. The prison-suppressing codex quickly separated. There was a picture on the page of the book. It was a picture of a prison, and inside the prison was a cultivator. Su Fang formed a hand seal, and the prison gate quickly opened. An illusory figure flashed out from the prison and quickly transformed into a cultivator in his early 20s. Boom! An indescribably powerful aura erupted from this cultivator, shattering the divine might of the imperial people's dignified old man. Then, this cultivator took a step forward and charged towards the old imperial people in the blink of an eye. He opened his mouth and let out a roar. The roar contained the power of the heavenly Tao, collapsing space and messing up the laws of nature. The old imperial people was caught off guard. He had just condensed a defense when he was sent flying. He shattered the formation space and disappeared from the palace. This cultivator was a peerless powerhouse whose cultivation had reached the peak of the Lord level. The G people's first ancestor. Everyone was shocked when they saw this cultivator's face. They didn't expect Su Fang to release the G people's first ancestor from the prison suppressing codex. When the G people's first ancestor saw that figure, he revealed an extremely shocked and furious expression. That figure was the clone that the G people's first ancestor had left behind in the Hunyuan heaven realm. What especially shocked the G people's first ancestor was that he had lost contact with this clone and was instead controlled by Su Fang. This was the terror of the prison suppressing codex. Once the prison suppressing codex was fused with it, one could borrow the power of the codex to control the experts who were shackled. Unfortunately, the experts who were shackled by the prison-suppressing codex were severely damaged due to the corrosion of the river of the heavenly Tao. Less than 10% of the experts who were suppressed by the prison-suppressing codex were still alive. Those sealed sovereigns had all died because they were in the same space as Jiang Taijie. Otherwise, if Su Fang fused with the prison-suppressing codex, it would be equivalent to controlling the sealed experts. There were even several sovereigns among them. Who in the universe could defeat them? Xuanxin, come to my inner world first. I want you to see it with your own eyes. I will return the humiliation you suffered tenfold. Su Fang released a divine might that enveloped Xuanxin. You have to be careful. Xuanxin nodded, his eyes filled with worry. Don't worry, I'm not a reckless person. Su Fang put Xuanxin into his inner world and separated a yang soul to accompany Xuanxin. He also released his divine might so that Xuanxin could clearly see everything outside. Then, Su Fang looked at Diyuan. His sharp gaze and the powerful clone of the G people beside Su Fang made Diyuan's heart palpitate. He was on full alert. Unexpectedly, Su Fang released his divine might and sent the maidservants who were guarding Su Yaotian and the others flying. Then, he put his father, Su Yaotian, Xian Yintian, and the others into his inner world. Diyuan, you deserve to die. Only then did Su Fang look at Diyuan. His sharp killing intent surged into the sky. Diyuan laughed wantonly. I'm the Yuan Tiangong saint, and I've saved all the worlds in the universe. All the worlds and creatures in the universe must worship me. Who dares to kill me? Who can kill me? Who do you think you are, Su Fang? How dare you try to kill me? Su Fang couldn't help but laugh. You saved all the worlds in the universe? You entered the celestial worthy mountain and stopped the world's metamorphosis? Diyuan's eyes flashed with shame and anger. He snorted and said, although I couldn't enter the celestial worthy mountain and stop the world's metamorphosis from continuing, it's because of me that the heavenly Tao river of order returned to normal. Otherwise, all the worlds would have been destroyed in the calamity. Even you, being able to escape the heavenly Tao river by luck, is also thanks to me. Su Fang was stunned. Then, he laughed loudly as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. Diyuan sneered. What are you laughing at? Su Fang said, I'm laughing at you. You're actually so shameless. Diyuan shouted angrily. This matter was personally said by the transcendents guarding the celestial worthy mountain. You dare to question it? It's a capital offense. Su Fang released Chu Bingyan and Qian Gang from his body. Then let them tell you what happened in the prison suppression codex. The moment the two of them appeared, Diyuan's expression changed instantly. You're actually still alive. He immediately understood. Su Fang, you're that middle-aged itinerant cultivator who can control the heavenly Tao's power of order. Su Fang sneered and said, You're not too stupid after all. In the prison suppression codex, I saw with my own eyes that you fled for your life in a sorry state. How can such a person save all the worlds? What a joke. Diyuan's face instantly turned ashen. Where are the experts from the Sanskrit who entered the divine prison of law? Su Fang, where are the Yi clan's expert, Yi Ling, and the genius, Yi Luoyang? Quickly release the people from the Luo clan. The Sanskrit, the Luo clan, the Ji people, the Yi clan, and other forces that had experts who died in the prison suppression codex all shouted loudly. The supreme being of the imperial people shouted in a deep voice, "Let Chu Bingyan and Qian Gang tell us what exactly happened in the divine prison of law." Chu Bingyan slowly told everyone about Luo Xingtian and the Luo clan's great elder, Luo Yunshan's plot against many cultivators, how they were devoured by the resurrected sovereign Jiang Taijie, and what happened in the prison suppression codex. Qian Gang also confirmed what Chu Bingyan said. The Luo clan suddenly became the target of public criticism. Eyes full of hatred looked at the Luo clan's sovereign and the higher-ups of the Luo clan. It turns out that the culprit who caused the river of heavenly Tao to be polluted and the chaos of heaven and earth was the Luo clan. Luo clan, this time, you must give all the worlds an explanation. The supreme being of the imperial people glanced at the Luo clan's sovereign and snorted inexplicably. Everyone from the Luo clan, including the Luo clan's sovereign, turned pale. This time, the Luo clan was in big trouble. Chu Bingyan and Qian Gang were later taken into Su Fang's inner world. They knew nothing about what happened after that. The Ji people's first ancestor shouted, "Su Fang, where is my clan's second ancestor?" Su Fang said coldly and embarrassedly, "I suppressed him and took over his body. He was killed in a battle with the Yi clan's expert, Yi Ling. Not even his corpse was left. Just before I entered the Yuan Tiangong, your Ji people's third ancestor, Ji Lai, and hundreds of Ji people's experts were all killed by me. Su Fang, you're courting death." The Ji people's first ancestor exploded in anger. He reached out and grabbed, and Su Fang's body flew uncontrollably towards him. Just as Su Fang was about to be killed by the Ji people's first ancestor, a cold aura that seemed to come from the underworld surged out from Su Fang's body. Even the Ji people's first ancestor, a venerable sovereign, found it difficult to shackle this aura. His divine power was shattered. Immediately after, a figure appeared in front of Su Fang and pounced towards the Ji people's first ancestor. Boom! A river of the underworld filled with the aura of death surged towards the Ji people's first ancestor, crushing the Ji people's first ancestor's divine body. The Ji people's first ancestor's yang spirit escaped with a whoosh and quickly reformed his physical body. He looked unscathed, but in fact, he had lost his divine body and his strength had dropped by more than 3 levels. It was unknown how many tens of thousands of years and how much energy it would take for him to recover. The person who attacked was Su Fang's doppelganger, replicated by you using the Hunyuan sacred mirror. Venerable Sovereign. Su Fang actually has a venerable sovereign by his side, and it's a very powerful one. This venerable sovereign has the aura of the underworld and a trace of transcendence. Who is this person? Everyone in the palace was extremely shocked by Yu's doppelganger. The palace instantly fell into a dead silence. The peerless venerable sovereigns also looked at Yu's doppelganger in horror, their eyes filled with fear. The peerless imperial people stared at Yu's doppelganger with shock, doubt, and fear in their eyes. Obviously, they were suspicious of Yu's origin. In Su Fang's inner world, loud cheers erupted like a tsunami. Su Fang's family, friends, and subordinate. Chapter 2342. Su Fang looked at the Ji people's first ancestor with eyes full of mockery and disdain. So what if the Ji people had a venerable sovereign expert? They were still killed by Su Fang. The Ji people's second ancestor and third ancestor were all killed by Su Fang. Even the Ji people's first ancestor, who had just become a venerable sovereign, was almost suppressed. Almost everyone had the same thought. Su Fang was the nemesis of the Ji people. The Ji people's first ancestor looked at Su Fang with eyes full of resentment and fear. He had lost the courage to take revenge. Su Fang did not continue to pursue the Ji people's first ancestor. Shroud's clone could only be used 3 times. Even if he could kill the Ji people's first ancestor, Su Fang would lose this protective talisman. Su Fang, what happened in the prison suppressing codex? The imperial people's supreme existence asked in a deep voice. This was what everyone was most concerned about. Su Fang narrated the events that happened in the prison suppressing codex to everyone. Su Fang had completely forgotten about Goddess Luo's memories, so he was naturally unable to tell them. As for matters related to the primordial chaos sacred mirror and the four symbols transformation, Su Fang was vague. As for Shroud, who was sealed in the prison suppressing codex by the celestial venerable, Su Fang did not hide anything, including how Shroud killed Jiang Taijie and prevented the river of heavenly Tao from being polluted. Su Fang did not hold back at all. Su Fang's words caused everyone to be deeply shocked. Only then did they understand what kind of shocking things had happened in the prison suppressing codex. At the same time, they also understood that it was Shroud who had saved the entire universe. It was not Di Yuan who had broken into the celestial venerable mountain and triggered the restrictions inside. Su Fang had helped you escape. This also meant that he was the one who had saved the myriad realms. As for Di Yuan, he was purely a joke. Di Yuan sneered disdainfully, breaking the silence. The matter of me saving the myriad worlds was personally mentioned by the mountain guardian. You want to overturn a supreme transcendent being with just your one-sided words? This is the biggest joke in the world. Su Fang's words are full of loopholes. Even Chu Bingyan and Qian Gang's words can't be taken seriously, said the Luo clan's venerable ancestor. As long as we suppress Su Fang and search his soul, the truth will be revealed. The higher-ups of the imperial people, the Sanskrit, the Yi clan, and the other god clans, as well as the venerable sovereigns, glared at Su Fang with murderous intent. If Su Fang's words were confirmed, it would mean that Di Yuan's so-called saving of the myriad worlds was a complete lie. Then, wouldn't the imperial people be ridiculed? What made the imperial people lose face in particular was that not only did Di Yuan seize Su Fang's credit, but he also forced Su Fang's Tao companion to marry and humiliated Su Fang's family and friends. Moreover, the marriage alliance was approved by the supreme existence of the imperial people. It was because of his connivance that Di Yuan was so deranged. As a result, not only Di Yuan, but the entire imperial people's faces were slapped by Su Fang. Not only did the imperial people's prestige suffer. QL11 The Luo clan, Sanskrit, and Yi clan's powerhouses' performance in the prison suppressing codex was not very glorious. Especially the Luo clan. Once Su Fang's words were confirmed, they would be condemned by the public and spurned by the myriad world. Although the venerable sovereigns of these three clans did not show it on the surface, their hearts were already surging with killing intent. Moreover, Su Fang had obtained the prison suppressing codex and the heaven supervisor token. If he was suppressed, thinking of these two divine weapons, the venerable sovereigns' hearts were also surging with greed. There was also the Ji people's first ancestor. His killing intent towards Su Fang had already reached the heavens. The three of them sensed every move of the supreme existence of the imperial people. As long as the supreme existence of the imperial people gave the slightest hint, they would not hesitate to suppress Su Fang. As for Yu's clone, although they were wary of it, it was not to the extent that they did not dare to make a move. The supreme existence of the imperial people closed his eyes. At this moment, he was using a forbidden technique to communicate with the guardian of the celestial worthy mountain. What this child said is not wrong. The guardian's reply made the supreme existence of the imperial people's heart sink to the bottom of the valley. However, he did not make a decision for a long time. In the eyes of the supreme existence of the imperial people, Su Fang was just an ant-like existence. In the past, he saw that Su Fang's talent was heaven-defying. He even alarmed the heavenly venerate's will when he was at Tao integration. That was why he favored him and helped him several times. However, at this moment it concerned the reputation of the imperial people. Since the celestial worthy mountain could no longer be opened, Su Fang would lose his value. Between the reputation of the imperial people and Su Fang, a mere Tao integration cultivator, the supreme existence of the imperial people did not find it difficult to make a choice. The only thing that the supreme existence of the imperial people was wary of was Yu. At this moment, he already knew Yu's identity. He was the son of the heavenly Tao, the ruler of the 10 underworlds, and a supreme existence who had transcended. How could he not be wary of such a heaven-defying existence? Just as the supreme existence of the imperial people was hesitating, Xing Wuji secretly transmitted his voice to Su Fang using his vital spirit. Su Fang, you're too reckless. Even if you have a venerable emperor powerhouse by your side, you shouldn't be so arrogant. You even want to offend the imperial people to the death. Quickly think of a way to escape. Su Fang was grateful and replied, "Thank you for your reminder, senior. I have a plan." The venerable emperor powerhouses of the Luo clan, Sanskrit, Yi clan, and Ji people saw the hesitation of the supreme existence of the imperial people and immediately made a decision. The venerable emperor of the Luo clan shouted majestically, "Su Fang, I suspect that you colluded with the resurrected powerhouse and were even controlled by the evil god. That's why you were able to survive the prison suppression codex. Now, you're spouting nonsense and slandering my clan. I'm going to suppress you and search your soul to prove my Luo clan's innocence." That's right. I suspect that the powerhouses and geniuses of my Yi clan were killed by you colluding with the resurrected powerhouse, the venerable emperor of the Yi clan said coldly. The venerable emperor of the Sanskrit snorted, "Su Fang, you killed countless members of the Sanskrit clan. This time, you even killed the clan leader of the Sanskrit branch in the Hunyuan heaven realm. How can I tolerate you?" The venerable emperor of the Ji people was also filled with killing intent. Chu Bingyan shouted, "Venerable emperors, how can you distort the truth?" The venerable emperor of the Ji people snorted, "Ignorant junior. In the myriad of worlds, the will of a supreme venerable emperor is the will of the heavenly Tao. The words of a venerable emperor powerhouse are the laws of the heavens. If you say he's black, he's black. If you say he's white, he's white." Under the gazes of the 4 venerable emperors and the other higher-ups, they felt like a pack of hungry wolves, and Su Fang was a little lamb without any protection. No hurry. No impatience. Su Fang stood there casually. It was as if even the collapse of the heavens and the earth wouldn't be able to shake him in the slightest. Di Yuan regained his previous imposing manner and looked at Su Fang sympathetically. He transmitted his voice, "Su Fang, even if you saved the myriad of worlds, so what? In the end, you still can't escape death. Who told you to be so weak and so stupid?" Su Fang replied, "I'll make you kneel in front of me and kowtow 3 times and 9 times to apologize to Xuanxin, my family and friends." Di Yuan snorted, "You're about to die, yet you're still so calm. Do you have something to rely on? You're probably still dreaming that the Nirvana-level expert shackled in the prison suppressing codex will come and save you, right? Stop dreaming. In the eyes of a Nirvana-level expert, you're just a lowly and insignificant existence like an ant. Besides, even if that Nirvana-level expert will stand up for you, don't forget that the Mountain Guardian is a Nirvana-level expert from the Imperial people. The Nirvana-level expert you're talking about has been sealed for countless years. How can he be a match for the Mountain Guardian?" Di Yuan mocked and ridiculed. He looked at Su Fang as if he was looking at a dead man. Boom! 4 wills erupted at the same time. Like supreme existences that ruled the heavens and the earth, they locked onto Su Fang and Mystery's clones. 4 venerable emperors, their wills were the heavenly Tao's laws. Their wills were the heavenly Tao's laws. With a single thought, the heavens and the earth would collapse and everything would be destroyed. It was the Ji people's first ancestor and the other 3 venerable emperors. They attacked at the same time, wanting to suppress Su Fang. "If you kill me," the myriad of worlds will lose any chance of survival. The heavens and the earth, including all of you, will die in the catastrophe and be devoured by the evil god. An aura suddenly surged out of Su Fang's body. The Origin's sacred mirror appeared in his right hand. Wait. The Imperial People's Supreme Existence's divine light changed instantly. With a thunderous roar, he took a step forward and directly arrived in front of Su Fang. The four wills that locked onto Su Fang and Mystery's clones instantly collapsed. The Imperial People's Supreme Existence waved his hand. The Origin's sacred mirror was no longer under Su Fang's control. It flew directly into his hand. After carefully sensing it, the Imperial People's Supreme Existence's body trembled. His eyes flashed with a terrifying light. The Origin's sacred mirror. It's the Origin's sacred mirror. The Origin's sacred mirror. Most people, including some venerable emperors, were confused. They did not understand, but they felt that it was amazing. A few venerable emperors were shocked. They were shocked, and then they were pleasantly surprised. No wonder. I see, the Imperial People's Supreme Existence muttered to himself. He was extremely excited. Di Yuan realized that something was wrong. He transmitted his voice to a high-ranking Imperial people and asked, "What kind of magic treasure is the Origin's sacred mirror? How can it make the supreme existence of my race lose his composure?" The high-ranking Imperial people also seemed to be extremely excited. He replied, "The Origin's sacred mirror is the token used to enter the celestial worthy mountain. Before the world changed, the celestial worthy mountain would automatically open once every era to recruit peerless geniuses. In addition, with the Origin's sacred mirror, one could directly enter the celestial worthy mountain." Di Yuan was shocked. It's actually that supreme treasure that surpasses any divine creation artifact. No wonder Su Fang, a lowly ant from the great world, could have such a heaven-defying talent. It turns out that he has such a treasure. After a while, almost everyone knew the origin of the Origin's sacred mirror and fell into ecstasy. What did it mean to have this supreme treasure? It meant that they could use the Origin's sacred mirror to enter the celestial worthy mountain again and find the truth of the world's change. They could completely stop the world's change from happening. It also meant that the catastrophe that would destroy the world could be resolved. Everyone's eyes were focused on the Origin's sacred mirror as if they saw the hope of the future. The Imperial People's Supreme Existence quickly returned to normal and directly stored the Origin's sacred mirror into his body. Chapter 23:43. I didn't expect the Supreme Existence of the Imperial People to be so greedy. Su Fang thought to himself. He finally saw what kind of face the legendary Supreme Existence had. When I was merging with the Tao, the Supreme Existence of the Imperial People extracted the essence of the Shaoyang Divine Sun and Shaoyin Divine Moon and put them into my heavenly Tao Palace. Later, he personally conferred me the title of the Yuan Tiangong Saint. I was originally grateful to him. When I was trapped in the prison suppression codex, everyone thought that I was going to die. The Supreme Existence of the Imperial People connived with Di Yuan and wantonly humiliated my family. Since when did he care about me? Now, he actually wants to snatch my Origin's sacred mirror. He even wants to protect my life and bestow me with good fortune. It turns out, in his eyes, I'm just a valuable chess piece. When I'm useful, he'll rope me in. When I'm no longer useful, he'll mercilessly abandon me. The heavenly Tao is heartless. These supreme existences are even more heartless than the heavenly Tao. In their eyes, nothing else is important except for benefits, Su Fang sneered in his heart. A faint mocking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. The supreme existence of the Imperial People raised his eyebrows slightly. Su Fang, you dare to look down on me? A terrifying pressure surged out from the void. Su Fang felt that the entire heavenly Tao was suppressing him. His divine body was shattering layer by layer. His bones cracked. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, he knelt on the ground. This supreme existence of the imperial people was the strongest person below the transcendence level. He surpassed any venerable sovereign. No matter how extraordinary Su Fang was, he was like a weak chicken in front of such a powerful supreme existence. He had no power to resist. Even Mystery's clone beside him could not bear the pressure of the supreme existence of the imperial people. Her body swayed and was suppressed to the point that she could not stand. She knelt on one knee. Di Yuan sneered with satisfaction. Arrogant fool. You think you can look down on the supreme existence of my race, just because you offered a peerless treasure? You're courting death. Just use soul search and extract his memories. Everything will be clear. The Ji people's first ancestor sneered disdainfully in his heart. You're still young and foolish. Do you think that the imperial people won't deal with you just because you took out the Hunyuan sacred mirror? It's just a pity that the primordial chaos sacred mirror, as well as the prison suppressing codex and the heavenly supervisor token, these two heavenly law divine artifacts, are all going to fall into the hands of the imperial people. The imperial people's supreme being's eyes flashed, and he was about to perform a soul search on Su Fang to find the whereabouts of the black side of the origin sacred mirror. Su Fang was bleeding profusely from the corner of his mouth. It was a horrifying sight. His eyes were still filled with unyielding pride. I can't stop you from searching my soul. However, there is one thing I can guarantee. Once you really do that, the consequences will not be just you. The entire universe will not be able to bear it. A transcendent being from the 10 serenities? Seeing that Su Fang was so calm, the imperial people's supreme being thought of Mystery. His heart skipped a beat, and the terrifying pressure that enveloped Su Fang instantly disappeared. He immediately dismissed the idea of performing a soul search and said in a low voice, "This concerns the safety of the entire universe. I was a little impatient. No matter what, the primordial chaos sacred mirror will not be in the hands of a mere Tao integration cultivator like you. You have to understand this." Su Fang circulated the blood energy in his body and rapidly healed the injuries on his divine body. Then, he kept Mystery's clone back into his body. He then smiled embarrassedly. "I'm afraid I have to disappoint you. The primordial chaos sacred mirror can only be in my hands." The imperial people's supreme being said coldly, "Is that so?" Di Yuan scolded, "Arrogant. It seems that if I don't perform a soul search on him, he won't understand what the heavenly Tao's prestige is." Su Fang frowned and said, "Shut up, you clown." Di Yuan was enraged, and a sharp killing intent surged out. "Noisy." The imperial people's supreme being snorted coldly and waved his hand to sweep Di Yuan off the high platform. Su Fang said, "The origin holy mirror, other than me and the person who possesses the other side, who cultivates a supreme cultivation technique and grasps a special hand seal, no one else can use it. If you don't believe me, why don't you give it a try? There's a Dharma treasure in this world that I can't activate?" The imperial people's supreme being chuckled. He rolled out the primordial chaos sacred mirror and tried to activate it. However, no matter how he tried, the primordial chaos sacred mirror did not move at all. It was like an ordinary ancient mirror. Not to mention activating the primordial chaos sacred mirror, he couldn't even enter the internal space of the primordial chaos sacred mirror. The imperial people's supreme being frowned, and he felt a burning sensation on his face. Only then did he realize that he had been too impatient under the temptation of a Tao integration cultivator. He had embarrassed himself in front of a Tao integration cultivator. At this moment, the Ji people's first ancestor said, "It can't be any simpler. Just seize his body and activate the primordial chaos sacred mirror." The imperial people's supreme being's eyes flickered. He was indeed persuaded by the Ji people's first ancestor. Su Fang looked at the Ji people's first ancestor, and a sharp murderous intent flashed across his eyes. Then, he said, The primordial chaos sacred mirror is a peerless Dharma treasure personally refined by the Supreme Heavenly Venerate. It has already recognized me as its master. Only I can join forces with the other owner of the primordial chaos sacred mirror to activate it. If you seize my body and make a fool of yourself, haha, why don't you gamble with the fate of the entire universe? The Imperial People's Supreme Being did not dare to take the risk. After pondering for a moment, he secretly communicated with the mountain guardian who had been paying attention to this place. This child is right. The primordial chaos sacred mirror is indeed personally refined by the Supreme Heavenly Venerate. It's definitely not an ordinary Dharma treasure. This child has caused many heavenly Tao phenomena and even awakened the Supreme Heavenly Venerate's will. It's obvious that he has obtained the Supreme Heavenly Venerate's approval. If we seize his body, the consequences will be unpredictable. It's related to the life and death of the entire universe. The Mountain Guardian's words made the Imperial People's Supreme Being completely give up on the idea of seizing Su Fang's body. Tell me your conditions. For the sake of the entire universe, I can agree to any conditions. After pondering for a moment, the Imperial People's Supreme Being could only say helplessly. Su Fang possessed the primordial chaos sacred mirror, and only he could activate it. The primordial chaos sacred mirror was related to the future of the entire universe. With this trump card, even if the Imperial People's Supreme Being's strength was heaven-defying, he would not be able to do anything to Su Fang. Ever since the Imperial People's Supreme Being became a Supreme Heavenly Venerate, this was the first time he had to compromise with someone. Moreover, this time, he had to compromise with a Tao integration stage ant. He could not help but feel a surge of anger in his heart. Su Fang smiled embarrassedly. "Sir, can you return the mirror to me?" The Imperial People's Supreme Being snorted coldly and swept the primordial chaos sacred mirror toward Su Fang. Just like that, the supreme Dharma treasure that had already been in his hands had no choice but to be returned. Su Fang's cold gaze looked toward Diyuan and then toward the Ji People's Supreme Being. Their hearts suddenly sank, and a feeling of impending disaster quickly welled up in their hearts. "I only have 3 conditions. Speak," Su Fang said resolutely and decisively. "First, save my Tao companion. If you can't save Xuanxin, there's no need to mention the other conditions." Phoenix Xuanxin consumed nirvana? Pill and nirvana? Pill is the supreme elixir of the Divine Phoenix ancient clan. Unless you use the purest Divine Phoenix blood essence to strengthen her Divine Phoenix bloodline, there's no way for her to fuse with nirvana? Pill and nirvana? Rebirth. QL11, however, the Divine Phoenix has long been extinct in the universe. There are very few divine birds with pure Divine Phoenix blood essence. It's not enough for Phoenix Xuanxin's bloodline to be strong enough to fuse with nirvana? To the point of pill. The Imperial People's Supreme Being frowned and shook his head as he spoke. Kill all the members of the Divine Phoenix ancient clan and refine their blood. You'll always be able to collect enough pure Divine Phoenix blood essence. Su Fang's voice was extremely cold. The expressions of the members of the Divine Phoenix ancient clan changed instantly. They were all scared out of their wits. The others were also trembling with fear. Su Fang actually wanted to exterminate the entire Divine Phoenix ancient clan in exchange for the life of his Tao companion. He was actually so ruthless. The Imperial People's Supreme Being looked at the members of the Divine Phoenix ancient clan coldly. Su Fang, Phoenix Xuanxin is a genius that the Divine Phoenix ancient clan has spent countless efforts and resources to cultivate. How can you repay kindness with ingratitude? The clan leader of the Divine Phoenix ancient clan shouted angrily. Su Fang's voice was cold. From the moment the Divine Phoenix ancient clan betrayed Xuanxin, Xuanxin was no longer a member of the Divine Phoenix ancient clan. Xuanxin's life is hanging by a thread because of you. It's only right to use the entire Divine Phoenix ancient clan in exchange for Xuanxin's life. Su Fang, you've gone too far. The clan leader of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan was filled with grief and indignation. He was so angry that he fainted. The various divine clans and forces that had been envious of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan now looked at the senior members of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan with sympathy. There were also many people who gloated over their misfortune. The Imperial People Supreme being pondered for a moment and said in a low voice, "All right, I'll agree to it." Everyone in the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. Everyone was in despair. Xuanxin has the true body of the Ice Phoenix and has consumed the Nirvana Pill. Nirvana Pill? The possibility of him being reborn is 30% higher than the other members of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan. Our clan has more than a dozen drops of ancient Divine Phoenix blood essence and several drops of Ice Phoenix heart blood. We're willing to offer them all to help Xuanxin achieve Nirvana Pill. A middle-aged woman from the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan spoke up. She was Xuanxin's master. The Imperial People Supreme being looked at Su Fang. "What do you think?" Su Fang snorted coldly. Xuanxin's master knelt on the ground and begged, "Please let my clan go on account of the fact that I've nurtured Xuanxin." The other senior members of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan also knelt down and begged for mercy. The Imperial People Supreme Being said, "What if your Tao partner can achieve Nirvana Pill? Rebirth can be said to be a blessing in disguise. His future is limitless. Even if he can't become a Dharch, he will still be a peerless god. Why do you have to be so unforgiving?" Su Fang was unmoved. "If you knew this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? This is also the karma of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan. No one can blame you." At this moment, Xuanxin spoke in his inner world. "Su Fang, forget it. After all, I'm indebted to the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan. I'll let them go this time." Su Fang knew that although Xuanxin looked cold, he was actually very affectionate. In the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan, his master had indeed taken good care of him. Naturally, he couldn't bear to exterminate the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan. "Fine. If Xuanxin can be saved, I won't pursue the matter with the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan." Su Fang's words made the members of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan feel as if they had been granted amnesty. They instantly heaved a long sigh of relief. The Imperial People Supreme Being continued, "Su Fang, state your other two conditions." Chapter 2344. Su Fang's words immediately caused an uproar. Ever since Di Yuan failed at the exalted celestial mountain, his temperament had become twisted and overbearing. Unexpectedly, Su Fang was even more overbearing than him. Destroying his cultivation path and kneeling down to admit his mistake was even more unbearable than killing Di Yuan. First, he wanted to annihilate the entire Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan. Then, he actually used such extreme methods to take revenge on Di Yuan. Everyone's evaluation of Su Fang was only one word: ruthless. Di Yuan roared furiously, "Su Fang, you're courting death." The Supreme Imperial People raised his eyebrows. Di Yuan is a peerless genius of our clan. At the same time, he's also the Yuan Tiangong saint. This condition is absolutely impossible. Di Yuan can admit his mistake, but if you want to destroy his cultivation path, we, the Supreme Imperial People, definitely can't do it. If they really agreed to Su Fang's condition, not only would it destroy Di Yuan, but it would also be a heavy blow to the Imperial People's reputation and prestige. How could the Supreme Imperial People agree? Di Yuan is of noble birth, and his cultivation talent is also extraordinary. However, in the eyes of Su Fang, he's just a piece of trash who only knows how to bully others. The condition of destroying his cultivation path can be waived because I don't care. Not only now, but in the future, I'll always step on his head. I won't bother to destroy him. Su Fang smiled faintly and said unhurriedly. His understatement revealed a domineering aura that looked down on everything, causing Di Yuan to grit his teeth. Then, Su Fang changed the topic. However, Diyuan must kowtow 3 times and kowtow 9 times to apologize to my family and friends. This condition is absolutely unchangeable. Diyuan shouted angrily, Su Fang, don't push your luck. Am I, Su Fang, pushing my luck? Su Fang looked coldly at Diyuan. You forced my cultivation partner to marry you. You wantonly humiliated my father, family, and friends, trampling on their dignity. At that time, did you ever think about their feelings? Diyuan snorted disdainfully. They're just a bunch of ants. Who do you think you are? Other than being of noble birth, what else do you have that makes you nobler than others? Su Fang mocked. Then, he shouted domineeringly, right now, in my eyes, you're just a clown, an ant. I want you to have a taste of what it's like to be trampled under someone's feet and wantonly. The Supreme Imperial People said decisively, King, and Diyuan will kneel and apologize to you, your family and friends. Absolutely. Diyuan cried out unwillingly. Before Su Fang appeared, how awe-inspiring was Diyuan. How domineering was he. Yet now, he had fallen from the lofty clouds to the ground. The blow he received was several times more disastrous than the defeat on the exalted celestial mountain. QL11 It was easy to imagine how he felt at this moment. Or, as you wish. Su Fang readily agreed. Since you're so stubborn, then I'll beat you until you kneel down and admit your wrongs. I'll have everyone see that the so-called number 1 genius of Primordius Heavenly Palace, the savior of all the heavens, is in truth nothing but an idiot, nothing but trash. Diyuan shouted savagely. I'll be waiting for you here 100 years later. Let's see who will kneel in front of whom. Then, Diyuan turned and left through the array formation. He left the palace. The Supreme Imperial People said in a low voice, Su Fang, state your third condition. Su Fang looked at the Ji people's first ancestor and said in an extremely cold voice, My third condition is to kill the Ji people's first ancestor and exterminate the entire Ji people. The Ji people's first ancestor roared, Su Fang, you're courting death. Su Fang smiled coldly. I've said before that I'll exterminate the entire Ji people. I, Su Fang, am a man of my words. This time, I'm going to fulfill my promise. Su Fang, the universe is currently in an endless calamity. The resurrected powerful beings, the demon race, and the evil Tao are rampant. Every Dharch is the mainstay of the human race. How can you threaten me to kill a supreme Dharch just because of your personal anger? Also, you've killed so many Ji people's expert. Isn't that enough to vent the anger in your heart? The Supreme Imperial People's first ancestor raised his eyebrows, revealing his anger. Su Fang sneered. If the Ji people's first ancestor can really contribute to the human race, I can naturally let him go this time. However, the Ji people are colluding with the demon race. Who can guarantee that the Ji people's first ancestor isn't a spy from the demon race who infiltrated the Yuan Tiangong? The Ji people's first ancestor scoffed. Nonsense. This emperor is a supreme Dharch. In the universe, I'm already a peak existence. What benefits can colluding with the demon race bring to this emperor? The Supreme Imperial People snorted. The Ji people are colluding with the demon race? Do you have any evidence? In the divine prison of law, the demon race's experts infiltrated the divine prison of law together with the Ji people. Furthermore, the Ji people's experts colluded with the demon race's experts. I almost lost my life to them. This is the evidence. Moreover, that demon race's expert is called Yuan Fu. He's not an ordinary expert. He's the doppelganger of a demon race expert who's equivalent to a Dharch. How can the Ji people's first ancestor not know that such a demon race expert is colluding with the Ji people's experts? Su Fang made a clanging sound. In the palace, there was a burst of whispers. The Supreme Imperial People's cold eyes looked at the Ji people's first ancestor. Ji Emperor, is there such a thing? The Ji people's first ancestor said flatly, Absolutely impossible. Even if there's such a thing, it's our clansmen colluding with the demon race to avenge Su Fong. There's no way the G people are colluding with the demon race. This emperor can swear to the heavenly Tao that if this emperor's words are false, I'm willing to be punished by the heavens. Su Fong said coldly and embarrassedly, "You're a Dharch expert. Naturally, you have the supreme forbidden technique to avoid the heavenly Tao's punishment. The so-called heavenly Tao oath is no different from a fart." The Ji people's first ancestor shouted coldly, "What do you want?" Su Fong said, "It's very simple. Let the supreme imperial people search your soul. Naturally, they'll know whether you're telling the truth or not." "Su Fong, you're just a Tao integration cultivator. How dare you be so rude to this emperor?" The Ji people's first ancestor's divine aura changed instantly. While he was burning with anger, waves of heavenly sound vibrated and roared around his body. The supreme imperial people's first ancestor was about to refute Su Fong when the mountain guardian's majestic voice suddenly sounded in his mind. "Do as Su Fong said, search his soul." The supreme imperial people's first ancestor was surprised. Could it be that the Ji people's first ancestor is really colluding with the demon race? Did the mountain guardian notice something? Without hesitation, he said indifferently to the Ji people's first ancestor, "Then I'll have to trouble you, Ji Emperor. I'll use my race's supreme forbidden technique to search your soul. I won't harm you in the slightest." The Ji people's first ancestor shouted in grief and indignation, "You actually listened to a Tao integration cultivator and wanted to search the soul of a supreme Dharch? I'd rather die than be humiliated like this." The supreme imperial people's first ancestor said coldly, "Could it be as Su Fong said, that the Ji people really have some kind of unclear relationship with the demon race? I didn't expect that the supreme imperial people's first ancestor, the supreme ruler of the Yuan Tiangong, would be manipulated by a Tao integration cultivator. Since the Yuan Tiangong doesn't want to keep me, I'll leave the Yuan Tiangong. The universe is so big, is there no place for me to stay?" The Ji people's first ancestor looked at Su Fong. In an instant, Su Fong felt a vast and mysterious power vibrate in his divine aperture. It was as if heaven and earth were falling apart, and it wanted to shatter his yang spirit and divine aperture. "Su Fong is the only hope of the universe. You actually want to kill him? You're courting death." The supreme imperial people's first ancestor shouted coldly, and a burst of primordial spirit power swept out. No one between heaven and earth could resist such an astonishing primordial spirit power. The primordial spirit power cast by the Ji people's first ancestor was immediately shattered. Only then did Su Fong escape the disaster. His heart was palpitating with fear. The Ji people's first ancestor sneered, and his figure fled into the void. "Stay here for me." As soon as the supreme imperial people's first ancestor spoke, a sudden clap of thunder sounded in the void, and the Ji people's first ancestor was instantly engulfed. Unexpectedly, in the next moment, the physical body of the Ji people's first ancestor exploded, shattering the surrounding thunder and lightning. An astonishing demonic aura surged into the sky, enveloping the entire palace in an instant. Then, the Ji people's first ancestor transformed into countless phantoms, flashing in all directions and drilling into the bodies of those cultivators. Demon race. The Ji people's first ancestor is actually a demon race powerhouse. Everyone in the palace exclaimed loudly. Unexpectedly, the Ji people's first ancestor was actually a demon race powerhouse. Even Su Fong was surprised. He thought that the Ji people were colluding with the demon race, but he didn't expect that the Ji people's first ancestor was actually a demon race powerhouse. It really is a demon race. They possessed the body of the Ji people's first ancestor and infiltrated the Yuan Tiangong. The supreme imperial people's first ancestor was shocked and angry. Those venerable sovereigns were also shocked. No one expected that the demon race would be so bold as to possess a supreme venerable sovereign and infiltrate the Yuan Tiangong. If Su Fang hadn't exposed them today, the consequences would have been unimaginable. The other cultivators were all trembling. I didn't expect that after I finally possessed the body of a venerable sovereign and infiltrated the Yuan Tiangong, I would fail because of a Tao integration cultivator. Su Fang, I'll make sure you die without a burial place. A venerable sovereign suddenly said coldly. This cultivator had already been possessed by the Ji people's first ancestor and was now under the control of the Ji people's first ancestor. Did the demon race think that they could be so arrogant in front of me just because they took advantage of the upheaval and walked out of the dark world? The supreme imperial people's first ancestor's expression became very ugly. He snorted coldly and a bolt of heavenly lightning struck down, killing that venerable sovereign. The Ji people's first ancestor's voice came out from the mouths of the cultivators at the same time. I've used the demon race's supreme demon art. Right now there are thousands of incarnations. At least half of the cultivators here have been possessed by me. Unless you kill everyone here, what can you do to me? The cultivators inside the palace suddenly panicked and fled toward the palace's exit. How dare you be so arrogant, demon race? An old voice reverberated in the palace. The voice was clearly transmitted into everyone's ears. The cultivators who hadn't been possessed by the Ji people's first ancestor immediately quieted down when they heard the old man's voice. The cultivators who had been possessed by the Ji people's first ancestor all screamed miserably when they heard the old man's voice. Wisps of demon chi drilled out of their bodies and quickly burned them to ashes, while those cultivators immediately returned to normal. It turned out that the mountain guardian had personally taken action. Although the demon race cultivator who had possessed the Ji people's first ancestor was extremely powerful and possessed an extremely strange demon art, he still couldn't escape the fate of being killed. Chapter 23:45. The fate of the Ji people, who had once dominated the myriad heavens and realms, was now sealed. They were completely erased from the myriad heavens and realms. The extermination of the Ji people did not make anyone feel that the supreme being of the imperial people was callous. Instead, they rejoiced endlessly. Everyone was grateful to Su Fang. If Su Fang had not exposed the Ji people's ancestor and allowed a demon tribe powerhouse at the level of a venerable sovereign to infiltrate the Yuan Tiangong, the myriad heavens and realms would not have been able to protect their last refuge. Thinking of the consequences, not only the ordinary cultivators but even the supreme venerable sovereigns felt a chill run down their spines. Fear and trepidation were evident in their eyes. Su Fang, I've already fulfilled all three of your conditions. Tell me, when can I enter the celestial worthy mountain? The supreme being of the imperial people stared at Su Fang as he spoke majestically. The imperial people had lost all face this time. This supreme being of the imperial people did not seem to be in a good mood. Su Fang said slowly, although I have the origin holy mirror, it doesn't mean that I can enter the celestial worthy mountain easily. Even if I enter the celestial worthy mountain, it'll be difficult to find out the truth about the world's metamorphosis and stop it from happening if I'm not powerful enough. The supreme being of the imperial people nodded. This concerns the life and death of the myriad heavens and realms. I'll do everything in my power to quickly increase your strength. What level of cultivation do you think you need to reach to enter the celestial worthy mountain? At least upper rank lord level, Su Fang said without hesitation. Upper rank lord level? The supreme being of the imperial people arched his brows. You should know that there's not much time left for the myriad heavens and realms. How long will it take for you to elevate to upper rank lord level? 100,000 years. 100,000 years. You can elevate to upper rank lord level in a mere 100,000 years? The supreme being of the imperial people found Su Fang's words hard to believe. Some of the venerable sovereigns scoffed while others frowned. No one thought that Su Fang could advance from level 8 Dao integration to upper rank Lord level in a mere 100,000 years. Although Master Gods were not as rare as Emperor Masters, they were still rare existences. Countless cultivators had spent their entire lives working hard, but it was still difficult for them to reach the heights of a sovereign. However, Su Fang was so confident that he could elevate to become a lord in 100,000 years. Moreover, he would be an upper-rank lord. How could others not be skeptical? Although 100,000 years is a short time, as long as I stay in Yuan Tiangong and don't spare any resources, I'll have at least a 70% chance of elevating to upper-rank lord level. Seeing Su Fang speak so confidently, the supreme existence of the imperial people no longer had any doubts. Su Fang had performed too many unbelievable miracles. Perhaps he really did have the confidence to elevate to upper-rank lord level within 100,000 years. So he asked, "What do you want?" Yuan Tiangong must provide me with any elixirs, spirit items, or other resources I need. Humph, your appetite is not small. This seat approves. Within 100,000 years, you must ensure that Xuanxin successfully fuses with Nirvana? Dan? Nirvana? Rebirth? Sure. I need at least 2 Emperor Masters to protect me at all times. 2 Emperor Masters. The supreme existence of the imperial people frowned again. You'll be staying in Yuan Tiangong all the time. Why do you need Emperor Masters to protect you? Who can guarantee that something like the Ji people's first ancestor won't happen again? Su Fang glanced at the Emperor Masters of Sanskrit, the Luo clan, and the Yi clan. The 3 supreme emperors were furious, but they did not say anything. QL11 Su Fang continued, "Also, I must enter a dangerous place to rescue the holder of the other side of the Origin Holy Mirror. Otherwise, I won't be able to enter the celestial Worthy Mountain alone. Without the help of Emperor Masters, not only will I not be able to rescue her, I might even lose my life in that dangerous place." The supreme existence of the imperial people nodded and said, "Is there such a thing? In that case, this emperor will send Sang Qiu and Wei Dao to protect you at all times." Su Fang took the opportunity to ask for an exorbitant price. "Thank you, sir. But 2 venerable emperors? That's still not enough. 2 supreme sovereigns, can't they protect you? Do you want this seat to personally stay by your side and protect you?" The Emperor clan's unmatched expert was finally angered by Su Fang's greed. Su Fang's expression did not change. "I don't dare. Sir, please send one of the 3 Emperor Masters of Sanskrit, the Yi clan, and the Luo clan to protect me. Then, I will be at ease." The eyes of the 3 Emperor Realm Masters flickered slightly. The first ancestor of the Ji people had offended Su Fang. In the end, not only did he lose his life, but the entire Ji people were about to be exterminated. How could they not be afraid of Su Fang? The supreme existence of the imperial people snorted. "Fine, 3 Emperor Masters will take turns to protect you. Each of them will protect you for 30,000 years. That should be enough, right?" Su Fang hesitated. What if they don't protect me and want to harm me? What should I do? Or what if they refuse to listen to me when I'm in danger? What should I do then? The supreme existence of the imperial people was furious. "If any Emperor Masters harm you, this seat will exterminate their entire clan. In addition, the Emperor Masters in charge of protecting you must listen to your orders for the next 100,000 years. Otherwise, they will be punished by this seat." "Thank you, sir." Su Fang was very happy in his heart. Now, it was equivalent to having 3 Supreme Emperor Masters by his side. Even if someone wanted to harm him, including the Devil Race, the Evil Path, and the Resurrected Powerhouses, he would no longer have to worry about them. Moreover, with the Emperor Masters by his side, they could guide him in his cultivation at any time. Naturally, his cultivation speed would be much faster. As for the Emperor Masters of the Sanskrit, Yi clan, and Luo clan, Su Fang naturally had a use for them by his side. The three Emperor Masters all had extremely ugly expressions. They were like volcanoes that could erupt at any time. It was undoubtedly a humiliation to them that they, as dignified Emperor Realm Masters, had to obey the orders of a Tao integration cultivator. However, they had no choice but to obey the orders of the supreme existence of the imperial people. They could only suppress their anger. The supreme existence of the imperial people thought that Su Fang would not have any more requests after making so many requests in one go. Unexpectedly, Su Fang continued, "The Luo clan has a treasure of great importance. Please hand over this treasure. I will borrow it for a period of time. When the time comes, I will naturally return it." What Su Fang was talking about was the replica of the heavenly chessboard in the hands of the Luo clan. The Emperor Master of the Luo clan sneered, "Su Fang, do you want to lend the Luo clan's divine creation artifact to you?" The supreme existence of the imperial people shouted in dissatisfaction, "Su Fang, don't push your luck." Su Fang said sternly, "The Luo clan's treasure is related to whether or not we can rescue the holder of the other side of the origin sacred mirror. If the Luo clan is unwilling to lend it to us and something happens, the Luo clan will bear all the consequences." "What treasure is that?" "It is one of the treasures I made a bet with Luo Xingtian." The Emperor Master of the Luo clan breathed a sigh of relief and said generously, "Those treasures are dispensable to my clan. I will give them all to you later." The supreme existence of the imperial people asked coldly, "Su Fang, do you have any more requests now?" Su Fang cupped his fists and said, "I am not greedy. I only asked for these treasures to prepare for entering the celestial worthy mountain, not for my own personal gain. Naturally, I will not covet the extra treasures." Not greedy? Selfless? The supreme existence of the imperial people was so angry that he laughed. Then, he waved his hand, "Since you have no more requests, then go back and focus on cultivating. After 100,000 years, enter the celestial worthy mountain." "Yes." Su Fang cupped his fists and bowed to the supreme existence of the imperial people, then flew toward the entrance of the palace. Su Fang has defied the heavens again this time. This time, he is like an ant shaking the heavens. It's really incredible. This time, not only did he save his cultivation partner, family, and friends, but he also forced the supreme existence of the imperial people to bow down to him. He also received so many benefits. TSK, who would dare to touch him in the Yuan Tiangong in the future? I hope he can enter the celestial worthy mountain again, and find a chance of survival for the myriad worlds. Looking at Su Fang's back, many experts exclaimed in their hearts, "Su Fang, don't be fooled by your arrogance this time. After 100,000 years, no matter whether you succeed or fail in entering the celestial worthy mountain, you will not be able to escape death. The imperial people are such a powerful force, yet you dare to defy the heavens. After you enter the celestial worthy mountain, you will know what it means to put away the bow after the birds are gone and cook the hound after the hares are gone." The Emperor Masters of the Sanskrit, the Yi clan, and the Luo clan, as well as the Heavenly Fire Divine Lord and other experts who hated Su Fang, all sneered in their hearts. Xing Wuji and Mo Tiangong both sighed in their hearts. Obviously, they were worried about Su Fang's future. Just as everyone was having their own thoughts, a divine power quietly descended and enveloped everyone. Everyone was shocked to find that all their memories of the origin sacred mirror were rapidly disappearing from their minds. A moment later, apart from the supreme existence of the imperial people who was not affected, the Emperor Masters who had some vague memories of the origin sacred mirror had completely disappeared from everyone else's memories. The only one who could have such strength was the Transcender who guarded the celestial worthy mountain. Obviously, he did not want the news of the origin sacred mirror to leak out and be known by the demon race and the resurrected experts. Su Fang left the Dubhe space and arrived in the Hunyuan heaven realm. He staggered and almost lost his flight. Although he did not lose much energy this time, It was 100 times more dangerous than any previous fierce battle. It could be said that he was walking on the brink of death every moment. He looked relaxed and carefree, but in reality, the pressure he was enduring had long surpassed the limits of what he could bear. After all, he was only a Tao integration realm cultivator, and he was facing a supreme existence of the Emperor clan that surpassed any emperor venerable. Chapter 2346. Su Fang came to the void where the celestial realm used to be and created a formation. Then, he sat cross-legged in the formation. He immediately devoured pills, spiritual items, and the blood and demon aura of the ferocious pig beast suppressed in the prison suppressing codex, as well as the condensed blood crystals and crystals to quickly recover. The most important thing was still the consumption of his primordial spirit. Su Fang could only slowly recover by cultivating the night demon technique, the undying soul code. The golden rainbow monarch spoke in his inner world. "Kid, you look impressive this time. You slapped the imperial people's faces so hard. You've buried endless troubles for the future. I've never thought of becoming enemies with the imperial people. But Diyuan is riding on my head. What can I do? If it was me who suffered some humiliation, I'd just endure it." However, Xuanxin was forced to marry. "My father and other relatives and friends suffered great humiliation. If I still endure it, then what's the use of my cultivation? Cultivation is to seek an open-minded mind and live a happy life. There are some things that you know you can't do, but you have to do it," Su Fang said sternly. The golden rainbow monarch was shocked by Su Fang's words. After a long time, he asked, "What will you do after 100,000 years? When you enter the celestial worthy mountain, the imperial people will not let you go, regardless of whether you can resolve the crisis of the myriad worlds or not. You will not be facing the venerable sovereigns, but the strongest god clan in the myriad worlds, or even a transcendent. Live well in the present. As for the future, there will always be a way to solve it. Even if I can't escape death, these 100,000 years can be considered a gain for me, haha. I didn't expect you to be so open-minded. I'm ashamed." This time, Su Fang has completely offended the imperial people, but the benefits are unimaginable. "Golden Rainbow Monarch, I promised you that I would help you reform your body and resurrect you. This time, I finally found the opportunity." The Golden Rainbow Monarch cried out in surprise, "You can really help me resurrect. You forgot that I have 3 supreme venerable sovereigns by my side. Wouldn't it be easy for them to help you resurrect? So this is the reason why you requested the supreme existence of the imperial people to have a venerable emperor protect you." The Golden Rainbow King was surprised and overjoyed. When Su Fang first entered Primordius' heavenly palace, Su Fang had mentioned this matter to him. Although the Golden Rainbow King held onto a glimmer of hope, he knew that this hope was extremely slim. He didn't think it would become a reality so soon. How could he not be ecstatic? He was so happy that he almost fainted. "I asked an Emperor Realm Master to protect me, not just to resurrect you." Su Fang chuckled. Then, a young spirit came to the heaven realm that he had moved into his inner world. "Father, Grandfather, Master, Grandpa Xianlingzi, I'm sorry for the shock." First, he paid his respects to his father, Su Yaotian, Xian Yintian, Shu Yunkong, Xianlingzi, and the others. "Fang I've let you suffer this time." Su Yaotian's eyes were filled with tears, and he was filled with emotion. Xian Yintian stroked his white beard and said with a smile, "It's great that Su Fang can return safely and even vent our anger for us useless old things. Haha, it's still my discerning eyes that allowed Xuanxin and Su Fang to unite by marriage. Now that I think about it, I'm still the wisest one." Shu Yunkong bluntly added, "Why did I hear that you strongly opposed the marriage between Xuanxin and Su Fang?" It was Xuanxin who strongly insisted, and the two of them turned the fake into real, and finally the lovers got married? Xian Yintian rolled his eyes, causing everyone to burst into laughter. Xian Lingzi smiled and said, "It would be even better if the two of them had a son as soon as possible." Swish, swish, swish. Su Yaotian and the others all looked at Su Fang with bright eyes. Cough, cough. Su Fang coughed a few times and quickly changed the topic. He flipped his hand and rolled out a xian guang. In the xian guang, there were more than 2,000 fist-sized fruits. These fruits were of different colors and shapes, and they emitted a strange xian guang, surrounded by the aura of the heavenly Tao. Su Fang released his will and sent out Li Haojie, the Lord of Five Poisons, Li Ziqing, Xiao Mei'er, Zhang Ruoyun, Lan Haiqing, and other good friends, as well as his once loyal subordinates from the great world. Venerable Tyrant Blood and his son were saved by Su Fang in the divine prison of heaven. Later, they were sent to the heaven realm by Tsang Yen Hai. At this time, they were also called by Su Fang. Su Fang, we're too useless. Not only did we not help you in any way, but we've also become a burden to you. Li Haojie looked ashamed. The Lord of Five Poisons and the others also felt guilty. Whether it was the Lord of Five Poisons, Zhang Ruoyun, Qi Yanzi, or the others, they were all peerless geniuses in the great world. However, in the myriad worlds, they could only be considered as outstanding. This was also related to their experiences. They were brought to the myriad worlds by Su Fang's people and had been cultivating in the heaven realm. Although the speed of their improvement was shocking, they did not have any heaven-defying opportunities. Compared to Su Fang, they were naturally much more mediocre. This time, facing the imperial people, they could not do anything. "I'm here for you." Su Fang revealed a domineering smile. "Eat the fruit of Tao first and change your cultivation talent. Then, I'll find a way to take away all the treasures in the Yuan Tiangong. With so many resources, do you still have to worry about not being able to become peerless experts?" Everyone was excited. He distributed the fruit of Tao to everyone and let them eat it first. The fruit of Tao that Su Fang took out were not ordinary items. Some experts used their own cultivation to condense Tao seeds in order to nurture their juniors. They constantly watered the seeds with Tao aura until they grew into a tree of Tao and condensed a fruit of Tao. Gods could increase the quality of their divinity by eating the fruit of Tao. After mortals ate the fruit of Tao, they could quickly become gods. Su Fang's fruit of Tao were all obtained by Su Fang outside the Sin Garden. They contained pure and majestic Tao aura and were of unimaginable help to everyone. The peerless experts of the imperial people promised Su Fang that he could ask for all kinds of resources in the Yuan Tiangong. Su Fang would naturally not be polite. When the time came, he would plunder without restraint and use so many resources to create a group of peerless experts. Su Fang remembered that he still had a fruit of sin. To Azura, it was a peerless spiritual item. He could not help but think of Luo. I wonder where Luo is now. Qingyu, Sister Bai, and the others were sent out by the Ji people. I wonder how they are now. But with Qingyu around, they should not be in any danger. Then Su Fang went to a side hall. He passed through the array formation and came to the depths of the palace array formation. He saw Xuanxin sitting cross-legged in the middle of the array formation. Su Fang. Xuanxin stood up and suddenly jumped into Su Fang's arms. He hugged Su Fang tightly as if he was afraid that Su Fang would run away. Nirvana? The pill hasn't taken effect yet? Su Fang asked worriedly. He felt a wave of pity in his heart. Nirvana? The pill needs me to burn the Ice Phoenix bloodline and fuse with the medicinal power. Only then will the pill be activated. It's fine for now. Xuanxin's words made Su Fang feel more relieved. Next, Xuanxin took the Divine Phoenix blood essence and Ice Phoenix blood essence from the Divine Phoenix clan. Nirvana? The chance of rebirth was great. If he really succeeded, it would be a great fortune for Xuanxin. Diuan. Thinking of Diuan, Su Fang's heart surged with a fierce aura. When you're with me, forget all those messy things. Xuanxin saw through Su Fang's thoughts and said softly. Smack. Su Fang felt a burst of yang qi explode in his body. A flame was stirring in his body. He hugged Xuanxin affectionately. The aura emitted by the pure yang body was like a volcano, melting Xuanxin, the iceberg. The two of them quickly merged together. In the array formation, there was endless love. After an unknown amount of time and countless crazy times, the two of them recovered from the peak of bliss and calmness. Xuanxin suddenly said, "Su Fang, it's strange. There seems to be a very important woman by your side, but I can't remember who she is." A very important woman? Su Fang's heart ached. No matter how hard he racked his brains, he could not remember who that person was. He only felt that a part of his destiny seemed to be missing. "I'm still too weak now. My destiny is still controlled by others." Su Fang sighed inwardly. Su Fang. A thought was transmitted to him. It turned out that Emperor Sang Qiu and Emperor Yi Dao had arrived. There was another Supreme Emperor with them. It was Fan Di from Sanskrit. Su Fang's original body left the square heaven realm and came outside the array formation. Emperor Sang Qiu's divine light swept over Su Fang. He could not help but sigh. "Su Fang, you've really defied the heavens this time." Su Fang revealed a helpless expression. "I had no choice but to do so." Sanskrit's emperor snorted. Since ancient times, those who defied the heavens rarely had good endings. Su Fang glanced at Brahma Monarch and smiled casually. Lord Brahma Monarch seems to be very idle. Resurrected experts are wreaking havoc in the Hunyuan heaven boundary. I ask Lord Brahma Monarch to take action and kill all of them. This time, the resurrected powerhouses had broken through the Hunyuan heaven realm's world barrier and invaded the Hunyuan heaven realm. At this time, many Yuan Tiangong powerhouses had arrived and the situation was under control. However, it would not be easy to kill all of the resurrected powerhouses. Fan Di said coldly, "Kid, I'm only here to protect you under the orders of the Supreme Imperial people. I'm not your subordinate. I'm a Supreme Emperor. How can a Dao integration stage cultivator like you order me around?" Su Fang chuckled. "Lord Fan Di, you've probably forgotten. The Supreme Imperial people said that the Emperor powerhouses responsible for protecting me must obey my orders for the next 100,000 years. Otherwise, they will be punished for disobeying orders." "Lord Fan Di, you're not thinking of disobeying the Imperial people, are you?" "Su Fang, you win." Fan Di was furious. However, he did not dare to disobey the orders of the Supreme Imperial people. He had no choice but to follow Su Fang's orders. He suppressed his anger and attacked the resurrected powerhouses. Emperor Yi Dao laughed. "Kid, you're really ruthless. You're ordering a Emperor powerhouse around like a hired thug. It would be strange if Fan Di didn't vomit blood from anger. Tell me, what do you want me to do?" Chapter 2347. Su Fang, if there's anything you need, feel free to tell me. As long as it's within this Emperor's power, I will not refuse. Emperor Sang Qiu nodded. Emperor Unidao stroked his beard. As long as you don't want this Emperor to rob an Emperor, this Emperor will not refuse. Su Fang's attitude towards Emperor Sang Qiu and Emperor Unidao was completely different from how he treated Brahma Monarch. The two peerless emperors were very satisfied. Which peerless emperor did not have some pride? If Su Fang ordered the two of them around like how he ordered Brahma Monarch, even if the two of them agreed to his request, they would definitely be very unhappy in their hearts. "Many thanks, Emperor Lords." Su Fang cupped his fists and thanked them, then slowly told them about the Golden Rainbow King. The Golden Rainbow King's world spirit in Su Fang's inner world suddenly became nervous. How could he not be nervous when his life was at stake? A thief who's not even a domain lord is worth your trouble? Emperor Sang Qiu was a little surprised, thinking that Su Fang would ask for something big. This emperor is saved, this emperor can actually come back from the dead. The Golden Rainbow King's world spirit shouted excitedly, causing a huge commotion in his broken world. Su Fang said solemnly, This person has helped me through many dangerous situations, and I once promised him that I would help him reconstruct his body. I hope Emperor Lords can help me. Although it's a little troublesome, it's not difficult for this emperor. Emperor Sangqiu looked at Su Fang approvingly and nodded. After thinking for a while, he continued, I also need some extremely precious spiritual items that even this emperor doesn't have. Su Fang hurriedly said, That's not a problem. Emperor Lords must have forgotten that the peerless imperial people personally promised me that I can take any resources in Yuan Tiangong. If there's anything in Dubhe Hall, just take it. If not, I'll bring Brahma Monarch to visit other god clans and forces. I'm sure we can find it. Visit? Bring Brahma Monarch? You brat, whoever offends you will be in big trouble. Emperor Sangqiu laughed loudly. There's one more thing, I'll have to trouble Emperor Yunidao. Su Fang then cupped his fists towards Yunidao and said, One of my subordinates' divine palace was destroyed by a Luo clan master. I hope Emperor Lord can help him restore his divine palace. After speaking, Su Fang pulled the Frost-Start Realm Lord out from his inner world. Before entering Primordius' heavenly palace, World Lord Frost-Start had his divine palace destroyed by a Luo clan master and had become a cripple. Su Fang had promised to restore him. Hanshua Realm Lord originally thought that Su Fang was trying to win the hearts of the people, so he casually said those words. Is two's to help to be's is it? S to the emperors to help. To the point of shocked, and the emperor's. He was is it? To the to ask of it to this my it's s to it, to be's it to the ntt feel it. It's just a small matter. Leave it to me. Emperor Yunidao agreed, but his heart was filled with emotions. Ever since the upheaval, the order of the universe had been thrown into chaos. The darkest things in everyone's heart had been exposed. It was rare to see a cultivator like Su Fang, who treated his family, friends, and subordinates so well. It wasn't just Emperor Yunidao, Emperor Sangqiu also praised Su Fang. Seeing that Su Fang had nowhere to cultivate, Emperor Sangqiu asked, Su Fang, with how important you are right now, you should be able to live anywhere in Primordius' heavenly palace. Why are you living in Primordius' heaven world? Su Fang said indifferently, It doesn't matter. In 100 years, I'll be living in the Saint Temple. Diyuan had issued a challenge to Su Fang. 100 years later, the two of them would have a battle of life and death. Su Fang was confident that he could defeat Diyuan. After defeating Diyuan, he would naturally take back the Sanctum of Sages. When the time comes, you should spare Diyuan's life. Don't offend the imperial people. Emperor Yunidao warned Su Fang. He was also worried about Su Fang's future. I understand. Su Fang nodded. This is a list of the items you need to reconstruct your subordinate's body. Once you've gathered them, you can contact me at any time. Emperor Sangqiu took out a jade slip and flew it to Su Fang. Then, he disappeared into the void. Emperor Yunidao also took the Frost Moon Realm Lord and disappeared into the void. The matter of the Golden Rainbow King and the Frost Moon Realm Lord finally had some progress. Su Fang also had two things to worry about. In the Hunyuan Heaven World, Brahma Monarch personally took action and killed all the reincarnated powerhouses that had entered the Hunyuan Heaven World. The broken world barrier was also reinforced, and the Hunyuan Heaven World returned to the Blood Wall, blocking the reincarnated powerhouses outside. A few days later, the ancient Divine Phoenix clan leader and the other upper echelons, including Xuanxin's master, came to visit Su Fang. They offered more than 10 drops of Divine Phoenix blood essence and 5 drops of Ice Phoenix blood essence. Su Fang didn't have any good impression of the ancient Divine Phoenix clan. Xuanxin also didn't show up. The upper echelons of the ancient Divine Phoenix clan knew that Xuanxin had completely broken off all relations with the ancient Divine Phoenix clan. They could only leave in embarrassment. In order to curry favor with the imperial people, the ancient Divine Phoenix clan's reputation was ruined and they were almost exterminated. they would never regain their former glory. The supreme existence of the imperial people also sent people over. In order to ensure Xuanxin's nirvana? It was foolproof. The supreme existence of the imperial people decided to send Xuanxin to the celestial worthy mountain and ask the mountain guardian to personally help Xuanxin's nirvana? Dan. Su Fang thought for a long time and finally agreed. The supreme existence of the imperial people sent Xuanxin to the mountain guardian not because they were worried about Xuanxin's safety, but because they were worried that if something happened to Xuanxin, it would affect Su Fang and cause their last hope to be lost. In addition, Su Fang guessed that the supreme existence of the imperial people had another intention, which was to use Xuanxin as a hostage. Of course, this was only Su Fang's guess. The mountain guardian was a supreme existence in the world. How could he do such a thing? Su Fang, however, was worried about Xuanxin. If anything happened to him, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Xuanxin's nirvana was Dan's nirvana with the help of the supreme experts from all the worlds. The pill was definitely in the bag, so he agreed to the arrangement of the emperor race's supreme existence. After sending Xuanxin away, Su Fang felt a sense of loss. QL11 on this day. More than a dozen gods came to Su Fang's formation. Greetings, Saint of Su Fang. Su Fang sensed the aura of the people in the formation and couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. The Blue Dome Domain Lord? And the Star Billow Domain Lord and Master Kuan Su? Immediately, Su Fang smiled coldly and asked indifferently, "What's the matter?" The Blue Dome Domain Lord bowed to the inside of the formation. "I was forced by the G people to leave the celestial realm and join the G people. It's too late for regrets. I'm here to apologize to the Saint of Su Fang." Apologize? Inside the formation, Su Fang sneered inexplicably. Su Fang had caused the Blue Dome Domain Lord, the Star Billow Domain Lord, and Master Kuan Su a lot of grievances. If it weren't for Su Fang, they wouldn't have been able to stay in such a good place in the Hunyuan Heaven Realm. Back then, the G people's first ancestor had become a supreme venerable and overseen the Hunyuan Heaven Realm. The G people ruled over the Hunyuan Heaven Realm with one hand. The G people forced many cultivators from the celestial realm to leave the Hunyuan Heaven Realm. The Blue Dome Domain Lord and the others chose to cut ties with the celestial realm and joined the G people. Although they were forced to do so, Su Fang no longer had a good impression of the Blue Dome Domain Lord and the others because they were no different from fence-sitters. It's a wise decision for you to join the G people. What's wrong with that? As for apologizing, there's no need for that. Su Fang's cold and embarrassed voice came from the formation. The Blue Dome Domain Lord and the others all looked embarrassed and wanted to find a hole to hide in. They regretted their actions to the extreme. Why were they blinded by greed and cut ties with the celestial realm and joined the G people? The Blue Dome Domain Lord braced himself and said, "I know that I'm guilty. It's difficult for me to be forgiven by the Saint of Su Fang. However, the G people have been exterminated and we've been treated as the G people's vassals. We're also facing the disaster of being exterminated. Saint of Su Fang, please forgive us and come forward to save us." I see. Su Fang was enlightened. It turned out that the G people had been exterminated. The Blue Dome Domain Lord and the others were naturally unlucky and came to Su Fang for help. Su Fang said indifferently, "The seeds that were planted in the past will bear fruit. Your Excellency, please go back." The Blue Dome Domain Lord and the others looked desperate. They knelt on the ground and begged bitterly. The extermination of the G people was a decree issued by the supreme existence of the imperial people. Who dared to go against it? The Blue Dome Domain Lord and the others had joined the G people, but they also could not escape death. Not only them, but their relatives, subordinates, and tens of millions of cultivators from the Blue Dome star field would also be beheaded. Even if a venerable sovereign came forward to plead for them, it would be difficult to save them. Moreover, with the Blue Dome Domain Lord's status and strength, It was impossible for him to ask a peerless master god for help, let alone a venerable sovereign. Now, who dared to provoke the Ji people? The only one who could save them was Su Fang. In the formation, Su Fang closed his eyes and ignored the Blue Dome Domain Lord and the others. Su Fang. Xian Lingzi transmitted his thought from the inner world. Grandpa, do you want me to save them? They are indeed hateful, but after all, I am from the Kuan Su holy sect and have a close relationship with Master Kuan Su. How can I bear to sit back and do nothing? Well, I will save them again for Grandpa's sake. But, this time, I will not save them for nothing. After ending the communication with Xian Lingzi, Su Fang said to the Blue Dome Domain Lord and the others outside the formation, "It's not impossible for me to save you." The Blue Dome Domain Lord and the others were already in despair, but when they heard Su Fang's words, they immediately became spirited. The Blue Dome Domain Lord shouted, "Holy Son, please say it. I can agree to any condition." Su Fang said indifferently, "After saving you, I will shackle you and make you my slaves to avoid any unpleasant things in the future. If you don't agree, just pretend that I didn't say anything." The Blue Dome Domain Lord and the others immediately hesitated. Chapter 2348. Yuan Tiangong. In the Yellow Region, there was a divine realm, but it was not material. It was a huge tree that gave people the feeling that it could hold up heaven and earth. It exuded an ancient and vicissitude aura that existed with heaven and earth. Every leaf of the giant tree was tens of thousands of miles long, and a vast palace complex was built on it. Jianmu. After the Ji people's first ancestor became a venerable sovereign, the Ji people followed suit and moved the Ji people's base, the Jianmu, from the heavenly sound realm to the yellow region of the Hunyuan heaven realm. However, the Ji people's first ancestor was like a flash in the pan. Not only was he killed by a supreme transcendent, but he was also possessed by a demon race expert. The Ji people were also unlucky. The Ji people, who used to be arrogant, were now facing the end of the world. Outside the Jianmu, they were surrounded by Yuan Tiangong expert. The Ji people were temporarily shackled in the Jianmu and would be uprooted in a few days. Those cultivators who were attached to the Ji clan were also treated as spies of the Devil clan. All of them were shackled, and because it was a decree personally issued by the Supreme Sovereign, they were all captured and brought into the Jianmu. What awaited them was the same as the Ji clan's people, the fate of being killed. When a man achieves the Tao, his chickens and dogs will also ascend to heaven. However, at the same time, it also meant that when the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Whoosh! Su Fang appeared outside the Jianmu. The purpose of his trip was to save the people of the Blue Dome Star Domain. Although the Blue Dome Star Domain Lord and the others were heartless, Xian Lingzi had pleaded for mercy. In addition, Su Fang also planned to recruit a large number of experts. Naturally, they would not sit by and watch. Therefore, they personally came to the Jianmu where the Ji people lived. Looking at the tall Jianmu, Su Fang thought of the past when he had defeated the Ji people, and could not help but sigh. Xu Yunkong and Xian Lingzi saw the miserable scene of the Ji people with the help of Su Fang's divine power. They were also very emotional. The monstrous hatred in the past disappeared at this moment. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. More than 100 Yuan Tiangong heaven punishers guarding the Ji people discovered the Su Fang and immediately flew over. Just as they were about to interrogate Su Fang, the leader of the imperial people immediately recognized Su Fang. His expression instantly changed as he cupped his fists and said, "Greetings, Saint Su Fang." The other heaven punishers also bowed to Su Fang. Su Fang's status as the Holy Son had not been revoked. In addition, Su Fang was currently an important figure who was responsible for the safety of the myriad world. No matter what happened in the future, his current status was incomparably noble. Even Emperor Realm Masters would not dare to touch him in the slightest. Thus, these heaven punishers were extremely respectful to him. "I came to Ji people to take a look." Su Fang waved his hand and flew straight to the Jianmu. The imperial people hurriedly led the way in front. He used his token to open the barrier around the builder tree and entered the interior. Since I'm here, I have to pay a visit to Mo Fenghua's parents no matter what. Su Fang told the imperial people that he did not need to accompany him. He flew straight to the back of the builder tree alone and arrived on a desolate and cold leaf. Seniors, Su Fang is here to pay his respects. Su Fang respectfully kowtowed 3 times to the dried-up lake. Su Fang was quite touched by Mo Shangtsang and Ji Bing's past. Furthermore, Ji Bing had used her spiritual essence to help him. Thus, Su Fang respected the 2 of them from the bottom of his heart. Then, Su Fang released Xianlingzi, Count Chong, and Ling Xiangmei. The 3 of them felt a wave of sadness again. Xianlingzi's tears flowed down his face as he said to the empty lake, "Heavens, do you see this? Fenghua has avenged you and Ji Bing. If you are here, you will definitely feel extremely gratified." Suddenly, Su Fang's eyebrows furrowed, and the light of deduction surged in his eyes. Unknowingly, 2 figures walked out of the void side by side. One of them was a young man wearing a yellow Taoist robe. He had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes, and he was extraordinarily handsome. The other woman had a peerless appearance and was otherworldly. They were Mo Shangtsang and Ji Bing. However, they did not really exist. If Su Fang did not have the divine power of the heavenly prying eye, he would not have been able to see their existence. Mo Shangtsang looked at Su Fang with an empty gaze. "I have a death grudge with the Ji people. However, Ji Bing is my wife. After all, she was born in the Ji people. I cannot bear to see the Ji people being exterminated. Please let the ordinary people of the Ji people go." "Let the Ji people go?" Su Fang furrowed his brows. Ji Bing bowed to Su Fang. "The Ji people are arrogant and despotic in the divine realm. They have done all kinds of evil. Today, they have only themselves to blame. Please give me some face and let the Ji people go. I do not ask you to let all the Ji people go. I will be eternally grateful if you let those innocent people go." Su Fang sighed. "Since the 2 seniors have spoken, how can I not obey? Su Fang, we did not misjudge you. Your benevolence will bring you good fortune." Mo Shangtsang smiled and pulled Ji Bing into the void. Before disappearing, Ji Bing turned her head and looked deeply at Su Fang. Her empty gaze seemed to be able to see into the depths of Su Fang's body and soul. Su Fang knew that Ji Bing was not looking at him. She was looking at her son, Mo Fenghua. Su Fang was silent for a long time. He pulled Xianlingzi, Uncle Chong, and Ling Xiangmei into his internal world and turned to leave. At this moment, a dark green Xian Guang suddenly appeared from the void. It quickly condensed into a leaf-shaped substance and flew towards Su Fang's forehead. QL11 Su Fang was about to dodge when Emperor Sang Qiu's voice sounded in his mind. "Do not resist. This Jianmu intends to accept you as its master. It has offered a strand of its soul energy. Merge with it. From now on, you will be the master of this Jianmu." "The Jianmu wants to recognize me as its master?" Su Fang was surprised. Even if he agreed to Ji Bing's request to let those innocent Ji people go, it would not be enough for the Jianmu to recognize him as its master. The Jianmu was a supreme creation spiritual item that was born at the beginning of heaven and earth. Legend has it that it was connected to heaven and earth. Later on, the war between the human race and the demon race led to the destruction of the Jianmu. The Ji people's Jianmu was cultivated from a branch of the original Jianmu. It was also a unique divine tree. Who would have thought that it would take the initiative to recognize Su Fang as its master? Emperor Sang Qiu chuckled. "This Jianmu already has its own consciousness. It is very smart. Now that the Ji people have been exterminated, it still does not know whose hands it will fall into. Rather than that, it might as well take the initiative to recognize you as its master. Who asked you to be so kind? Su Fang, even I can't help but be jealous of you for having such a fortuitous encounter." Since the Jianmu has taken the initiative to recognize me as its master, then I won't hold back. Su Fang's eyes instantly became incomparably hale and hearty. After fusing with the Jianmu, he could directly move it into his inner world. In this way, the Jianmu could absorb the power of Su Fang's inner world and continue to grow. Meanwhile, Su Fang could also use the Jianmu to accelerate his transformation. The Jianmu's wood elemental essence aura also had an astonishing recovery ability. Moreover, with the Jianmu's inner world, it would become incomparably sturdy. Back then, when Su Fang was at the Tao integration stage, the world tree had almost collapsed. In the end, it was fused with a leaf of the Jianmu that stabilized it. If he could move the entire Jianmu into his inner world, how sturdy would his inner world become? There was another huge benefit. Su Fang had no choice but to place the sky realm into his inner world. However, his inner world had not been fully formed yet. In his inner world, he could only rely on swallowing pills to cultivate. With the Jianmu, all the cultivators in the sky realm could live in the Jianmu. The Jianmu could absorb the aura of Su Fang's inner world and turn it into pure world power and spirit qi. The cultivation environment was definitely not much worse than the Hunyuan heaven realm. A leaf of the Jianmu could accommodate hundreds of millions of people. The entire Jianmu could accommodate hundreds of billions of people. He could also bring all his subordinates in the great world into the sky realm and live in the Jianmu. In this way, it was equivalent to solving a big problem for Su Fang. How could he not be happy? Su Fang immediately stopped hesitating and allowed the soul imprint to fuse into his glabella. He seeped the power of his primordial spirit into the soul imprint of the Jianmu. At the same time, he also used the heavenly secret life shrinking technique to fuse his fate with the Jianmu. In an instant, Su Fang felt that he had become one with the Jianmu. He did not need to use his perfected ability to sense. He could clearly sense the people living on the leaves of the Jianmu, and even the slightest movement in the wind. My visit to the Ji clan this time has really brought me an unexpected surprise. Su Fang chuckled. He was very happy in his heart. Next, it's time to deal with the Ji people. Why are Duanmu Renjie and the Emperor Venerable Expert of the Duanmu Divine Clan here? Su Fang sensed that in the palace where the Ji people's power was the most concentrated, there were more than 10 experts emitting the aura of the Wood Tao. Su Fang recognized one of the young men. It was Duanmu Renjie of the Duanmu Divine Clan. There was another young man whose aura was faint. If he had not fused with the Jianmu, Su Fang would not have been able to sense his existence. He was the Emperor Venerable Expert of the Duanmu Divine Clan. At the peak of the Jianmu, on the leaf, there was a magnificent palace. The Emperor Venerable Expert of the Duanmu Divine Clan sat high on the throne while Duanmu Renjie stood beside him. The Imperial People Expert guarding the Jianmu stood below respectfully. Emperor Venerable, may I ask why you have suddenly come to the Ji people? Duanmu Renjie said, It's a small matter. The Ji people are about to be exterminated. Our Emperor Venerable could not bear to see the divine tree of heaven and earth destroyed, so he specially came to the Ji people to take the Jianmu away. Take the Jianmu away? The Imperial People Expert frowned. He understood the Duanmu Divine Clan's intention. The Duanmu Divine Clan cultivated the Wood Tao, so the Jianmu Divine Tree was naturally very useful to them. Now that the Ji people were about to be exterminated, how could the Duanmu Divine Clan let the Jianmu Divine Tree go? The Jianmu Divine Tree was not an ordinary spiritual item. Ordinary people would not be able to fuse with the Jianmu Divine Tree and move it away. It was not strange for the Emperor Venerable of the Duanmu Divine Clan to come personally. The Jianmu Divine Tree was too important to the Duanmu Divine Clan, so it was worth the Emperor Venerable Expert to come personally. If the Duanmu Divine Clan takes the Jianmu Divine Tree away, I'm afraid it will be difficult to explain to the Emperor Venerable of my clan, the Imperial People Expert said hesitantly. It was not just the Duanmu divine clan. Which force did not covet the Jianmu divine tree? This imperial people expert was no exception. Naturally, he was unwilling to let the Duanmu divine clan obtain the Jianmu divine tree. Therefore, he brought up the Emperor Venerable of the imperial people. I have already spoken to the Emperor Venerable of the imperial people about this matter and obtained his permission, the Emperor Venerable of the Duanmu divine clan said majestically. If that's the case, how can I not comply? Chapter 2349. Duanmu Renjie suddenly said, My clan lacks some medicine apprentices, especially those who are young and beautiful. We need some virgins to harvest spiritual herbs. Anyway, it would be a pity to kill those G people. Why don't you give them to my clan? I hope you can do us a favor. How many women does the Duanmu divine clan need? Not many, just 100,000. The higher the cultivation level, the better. This, the imperial people's expert hesitated. The Duanmu divine clan's so-called medicine apprentices were actually using the vital yin of those virgins to refine an elixir called the yin soul nourishing elixir. This elixir was very precious in the universe. Although it was not as good as the creation saint elixir, it had the effect of nourishing the vital spirit. Therefore, its value was not inferior to the creation saint elixir. This elixir was not difficult to refine. The key was that it required virgins' vital yin. The lifespan of those women whose vital yin was extracted would be greatly reduced. Moreover, their appearance would rapidly become extremely ugly. Their fates would be extremely miserable in the future. While they were still hesitating, Duanmu Renjie took out a storage ring. The imperial people's expert looked into the storage ring with his consciousness. A look of surprise flashed across his eyes. He immediately agreed. It's just 100,000 women. Anyway, they will be killed and taken away by the Duanmu divine clan to contribute to the Yuan Tiangong. It was obvious that the benefits offered by the Duanmu divine clan had tempted this imperial people's expert. As the imperial people's expert gave the order, 100,000 women were quickly sent to the square outside the main hall. These women were all as beautiful as flowers. Moreover, their cultivation levels were not low. Most of them were in the heaven god realm. Some of them were from the G people, while others were selected from the G people's vassal forces. They knew that they would not be able to escape death. Most of them were expressionless. Their eyes were dull, and they looked like walking corpses. Duanmu Renjie took out a treasured cauldron and prepared to suck all the women into the cauldron. A woman suddenly shouted, I am the junior sister of the same sect as Su Fang. Young master, please spare me for the sake of Su Fang. Duanmu Renjie was stunned as he looked at the woman. Seeing that the woman was only a heavenly god and was not from the G people, he asked with a smile, Are you Su Fang's junior sister? The woman raised her head and said loudly, That's right, I'm from Kuan Su divine sect. Back then, Su Fang used the alias Emo Fenghua to stay in Kuan Su divine sect. He was my senior martial brother. Moreover, senior martial brother Su Fang and I have an extraordinary relationship. Duanmu Renjie raised his eyebrows. Oh? How is it extraordinary? Back when Su Fang was in Kuan Su's divine sect, he secretly liked me. Secretly like you? Duanmu Renjie was both shocked and stunned. Swish. Swish. Almost everyone's gazes landed on the Kuan Su divine sect woman. Their eyes were filled with envy and jealousy. Duanmu Renjie smiled and said, With your beauty, Su Fang actually fell in love with you? His taste is really a little too low. The woman said embarrassedly, Back when I was in Kuan Su's divine sect, Su Fang secretly stole my undergarments. If that wasn't liking me, then what was? Once she said this, more than 10 women immediately started shouting. Back when I was in Kuan Su's divine sect, Su Fang also took my undergarments. In the Star Billow divine realm, my family even planned to marry Su Fang. I almost became Su Fang's Dao companion. It turned out that these 10 women were all from Kuan Su's divine realm and the Star Below divine realm. In Kuan Su's divine realm, Mo Fenghua, who had a bad habit, even stole Ling Xiangmei's undergarments. There were very few female disciples who did not have their undergarments stolen. In the Star Below God realm, Xian Lingzi had once taken in 108 Dao companions for Su Fang. However, when Su Fang was hunted down by the Brahma race, the families of these women took advantage of the situation and broke off the engagement one after another. At this moment, these past events had become these women's life-saving straw. Duanmu Renjie laughed and said, "So Su Fang has so many close female friends. If I don't take special care of all of you, I will really be letting him down." Those women were all overjoyed. Who knew in the next moment, Duanmu Renjie's eyes suddenly turned cold. His entire body surged with a strong baleful aura. Su Fang caused me to go to the ancient demon abyss to train. I almost lost my life and suffered a lot. Since all of you are his close female friends, how can I not take good care of all of you? Those women's faces instantly turned pale. Duanmu Renjie gritted his teeth and said, "I will refine all of you into flower slaves." Do you know what a flower slave is? It is to use your corporeal body as the soil and plant the spiritual flower seeds in your body. Your primordial spirit, flesh, and blood will become the fertilizer and eventually grow into spiritual flowers that possess intelligence. Duanmu Renjie's words sent chills down everyone's spines. Even that expert from the imperial people frowned. Those women from the Kuan Su divine sect and the Star Below divine realm were so scared that they fainted. Duanmu Renjie activated the treasured cauldron and released a divine might that enveloped all 100,000 women. After keeping all of the women into the treasured cauldron, Duanmu Renjie was about to keep the cauldron when an extremely tyrannical divine might engulfed the treasured cauldron. Then, the treasured cauldron was forcefully sent flying. Su Fang walked out from the void and looked at Duanmu Renjie with a frosty gaze. It seems like the lesson I gave young Master Duanmu in the past was not deep enough. Su Fang. Duanmu Renjie looked as if he had seen a ghost. His eyes were filled with surprise and fear. During the marriage ceremony of Diyuan, he had personally witnessed how powerful Su Fang was and how ruthless he was. The imperial people were able to achieve what they had today all because of him. How could Duanmu Renjie not be afraid of Su Fang? The expression of the imperial people's expert also changed greatly. Su Fang said coldly, "Does young Master Duanmu have to take special care of everyone who is related to me?" Duanmu Renjie stuttered, "Su Fang's saint son, please don't misunderstand. I only wanted to scare those women. I don't have any other intentions. Since Saint Sun Su Fang likes those women, I will give them all to you along with the treasured cauldron." The Emperor Venerable Realm expert from the Duanmu divine clan snorted coldly and appeared in front of Duanmu Renjie. "Su Fang, don't be unreasonable. Renjie only said a few words, and he has already admitted his mistake. Why are you still harping on him?" Then, he looked at the imperial people's expert. "Quickly move all the sinners of the imperial people out of the Jianmu. I don't have time to waste here." "Yes," the imperial people's expert replied. "There's no need. I want the Jianmu and all the Ji people in it," Su Fang said indifferently. He had already merged with the Jianmu. How could he give up the juicy meat that was already in his mouth? Moreover, he had promised Ji Bing that he would let go of the Ji people's ordinary clansmen. When he saw that Duanmu Renjie wanted to take away 100,000 women from the Ji people, Su Fang realized that the Ji people had become a juicy piece of meat in the eyes of the various forces. Everyone wanted to take a bite out of it. Including the Ji people's clansmen, only the Ji people's higher-ups would be killed in the end. Most of the Ji people would be treated as slaves and divided among the super forces. Instead of benefiting the other forces, he would rather benefit himself. Su Fang naturally wouldn't miss this opportunity. When the time came, he would shackle all the G people's cultivators and turn them into experts that he could use. No matter how useless they were, they could still be used as cultivation tools for the big goblin. As for the ordinary G people, they wouldn't be a threat even if they were kept alive. In the past, Su Fang had a good relationship with the Duanmu Divine Clan other than having some disputes with Duanmu Renjie. He had even made deals with the Duanmu Divine Clan before. However, this time, for the sake of the Jianmu, he had no choice but to put the deal aside. The venerable sovereign of the Duanmu Divine Clan was enraged. The venerable sovereign's divine aura swept out, causing Su Fang to retreat continuously. Then, he said majestically, the G people's first ancestor was taken over by the demon race. The supreme existence of the imperial people judged the G people to be exterminated. Moreover, the extermination of the G people was also a condition that you proposed that day. Now you want to protect the G people. What's the meaning of this? Su Fang said indifferently, I suddenly changed my mind. What can you do about it? The venerable sovereign of the Duanmu Divine Clan snorted and said, I don't care how the G people are dealt with. However, I have the permission of the supreme existence of the imperial people to come and take the Jianmu. Do you dare to stop me? So what? Su Fang revealed a domineering smile. Impudent. Su Fang, I didn't expect you to be so arrogant. You don't even care about the supreme venerable sovereign. The venerable sovereign of the Duanmu Divine Clan shouted coldly. A terrifying aura instantly shrouded Su Fang and his surroundings. Of course, he did not dare to do anything to Su Fang. He only wanted to intimidate Su Fang so that he could obtain the Jianmu Divine Clan's most important Jianmu Divine Tree. Who knew? Su Fang suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. He shouted loudly, The Duanmu Divine Clan wants to kill me. The venerable sovereign of the Duanmu Divine Clan frowned. He sensed that something was wrong. Whoosh! 3 figures emerged from the void at the same time. They were Sang Qiu, Wei Dao, and Fan Di, the 3 supreme venerable sovereigns. The 3 of them looked at the venerable sovereign of the Duanmu Divine Clan at the same time. A terrifying heavenly Dao avatar surged in their eyes. Numerous illusory figures appeared in the void and instantly transformed into a real world that enveloped the venerable sovereign of the Duanmu Divine Clan. Boom! Boom! The imperial people's expert was affected and was blasted out of the Jianmu Divine Tree's space. The magnificent hall was instantly reduced to ashes under the divine aura of the 3 supreme venerable sovereigns. This was the result of the 3 supreme venerable sovereigns deliberately controlling their power. If they had gone all out, even half of the Jianmu Divine Tree would have been destroyed. The imperial people's expert would have died on the spot. The venerable sovereign of the Duanmu Divine Clan teleported out of the Jianmu Divine Tree with Duanmu Renjie. He roared furiously, Sang Qiu, Wei Dao, and Fan Di, how dare you attack me? Venerable Sang Qiu said, Venerable sovereign of the Duanmu Divine Tree, I'm sorry. If Su Fang is hurt in the slightest, the 3 of us will not be able to answer to the supreme beings of the imperial people. We will also not be able to answer to the myriad worlds. The venerable sovereign of the Duanmu Divine Clan was furious. When did I hurt Su Fang? Su Fang is norte. I've already been beaten to the point where I'm vomiting blood. Is that not an injury? This time, the Duanmu Divine Clan must give me an explanation. Otherwise, the Duanmu Divine Clan will be severely punished. A Xian Guang shot toward Su Fang. Wei Dao caught it. It turned out to be a storage ring. I'll give you 100,000 creation saint pills. Chapter 2350. Emperor Sang Qiu shook his head and said, Su Fang, you have offended another venerable emperor. Are you planning to offend all the venerable emperors? He doesn't even care about the supreme existence of the imperial people. Why would he care about us venerable emperors? Fondi snorted. His body was shrouded in divine light like a majestic mountain. The supreme aura of a venerable emperor was fully displayed. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with Su Fang using him to deal with the venerable emperors of the Duanmu divine clan. Su Fang said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "If you respect me, I will respect you 10 times over. If Lord Fondi doesn't treat me like an ant, I will naturally respect you as an venerable emperor. The weak should have the awareness of the weak. You will reap what you sow sooner or later if you try to go against the heavens," Fondi said coldly. Then, he flicked his sleeve and a divine light swept out as he disappeared into the void. Emperor Sangqiu and Emperor Only Dao shook their heads and smiled before following him. From now on, the Ji people will be removed from the myriad world. The Jianmu of the Ji people will also belong to Su Fang. Su Fang looked at the Jianmu with bright eyes. Then, he released a thought into the Jianmu. The Jianmu shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. It turned from a giant tree that could hold up the heavens to a small sapling a few feet tall in just a few breaths. Collect. The Ji people in the Jianmu, as well as the cultivators of the Ji people's vassal forces, were moved into Su Fang's inner world along with the Jianmu. Sizzle! Sizzle! The Jianmu fell on the ground of Su Fang's inner world. Its roots quickly extended deep into the ground and took root. At the same time, the trunk began to grow rapidly. In less than half an hour, it turned into a giant tree that was 1,000,000 miles tall, like a heavenly pillar that supported the heavens and the earth. In an instant, Su Fang felt that the inner world in his inner world had become several times more stable than before, as if there was an additional pillar that supported the heavens and the earth. Su Fang used the divine power of the Jianmu to transmit his majestic voice to the ears of everyone on the Jianmu's leaves, the Ji people and all the forces that rely on the Ji people. From today onwards, Su Fang is your master. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Su Fang continued indifferently, "Originally, you were all destined to die. I, Su Fang, gave you a chance to live, but from now on, you will be my slaves." Whoosh! Countless deities flew out of the buildings on the tree leaves and looked at Su Fang, who was like a supreme ruler in the sky. These people, regardless of whether they were from the Ji clan or the cultivators from the other factions that had once relied on the Ji clan, originally thought that they would not be able to escape death. Who didn't want to live live? However, becoming Su Fang's slaves was not something these people were willing to accept. Su Fang, you framed the Ji people's first ancestor, killed the Ji people's second ancestor, third ancestor, and countless clansmen. Now, you still want to continue enslaving the Ji people. I'll fight you to the death. An old man, who Su Fang could tell from his aura that he was a Dao integration final stage area lord, and he was clearly one of the higher-ups of the Ji clan. He let out an enraged roar and charged toward Su Fang. Boom! With a thought, Su Fang released a burst of divine power from the Jianmu's inner world, which fiercely pressed down on the old man. Under the divine power of the Jianmu, this realm lord expert was as weak as an ant and was instantly crushed into powder. The Ji people would rather die than become Su Fang's slaves. Another dozen or so experts of the Ji people, who were all high-ranking members of the Ji people, roared furiously and charged toward Su Fang with a solemn and stirring aura. Since you want to die, how can the Su Fang not fulfill your wish? However, I can't let you die in vain. You should at least be of some use. Su Fang's eyes were filled with coldness. He activated the divine power of the Jianmu and shackled the dozen or so experts of the Ji people. Zhu Huang, Tongtian Demon Venerable, Tongtian Demon Venerable, Undying Tortoise. I'll leave them to you. With a thought, Su Fang summoned Zhu Huang and the other big goblin who had followed Su Fang the longest. They immediately appeared in the Jianmu. Thank you, Master. There are so many human cultivators, and they're all Dao integration realm experts. After swallowing them, we'll be able to catch up to Qingyu very quickly. Zhu Huang and the other big goblin were extremely excited. They laughed maniacally, and each of them grabbed 2 or 3 experts of the G people. In front of the many cultivators of the G people and their vassal forces, they started swallowing them wantonly. In an instant, the builder tree fell silent. Isn't it easy to die? I have countless big goblin subordinates. No matter how many G people there are, they'll all be swallowed up by them. Su Fang's voice was filled with killing intent. Along with the divine power of the Jianmu, it attacked everyone's Tao heart and will. Then, Su Fang's expression softened. He said majestically, "From now on, the G people will no longer exist in this world. All G people will change their surname to Li." Surname Li? Everyone was astonished. However, after thinking about it carefully, they understood what Su Fang meant. The G people's surname was Ji. If they cut off their heads, wouldn't they become Li? I've always been fair in my rewards and punishments. As long as you're able to work for me and make contributions, I'll naturally not be stingy with my rewards. However, if there's anyone who refuses to give up and tries to defy my will, I'll definitely not be merciful. After saying that, Su Fang moved all the former G people and the current Li clan members to the first level of the Jianmu. The Jianmu leaves were divided into 9 levels. The first level was the lowest level. In the past, it was the place where the ordinary members of the G people lived. Now, regardless of their status, they were all slaves on the first level. Then, Su Fang moved all the forces that used to rely on the G people to the second level. Everyone from the Blue Dome star field, including the people from the Star Billow Divine World and Kuan Su's Divine Sect, were all placed on the third level. Experts from the Blue Dome star field, including the Blue Dome star field's domain lord, were also placed here. Based on their previous relationship with Su Fang, they could have become the upper echelons of the Jianmu and enjoy different treatment. However, they were now reduced to slaves. This was also Su Fang's punishment for them for going with the flow and joining the G people. Next, Su Fang moved all the Shu clan members who lived in the Golden Rainbow King's world and the subordinates that he had subdued from the other worlds. They were all placed between the 4th and 7th level. The cultivators from the Heaven Realm, who were loyal to Su Fang, as well as the subordinates from the Great World and the Big Goblin, were all placed on the 8th level of the palace. Su Yaotian, Xian Yintian, Xian Lingzi, Shu Yunkong and the other elders, as well as the family Su members and Su Fang's best friends, were naturally placed on the top level with the best cultivation environment. It was not just the living environment. At the same time, they were all powerful figures in the Jianmu. Everyone on the Jianmu was under their control. In fact, Su Fang did not have to worry about those newly subdued subordinates, mainly the G people, causing any trouble. Not only had Su Fang integrated with the Jianmu, but the Jianmu was also in his internal world. Even if these people defied the heavens, they could not break Su Fang's world. In this place, Su Fang was their sky. Next, Xian Yintian, Shu Yunkong, Xian Lingzi, and the others began to formulate laws and integrate their subordinate. They wanted to integrate Su Fang's forces into a strict force as soon as possible. Only then could they become a part of the overall strength of Su Fang. After a preliminary count, Su Fangdao was shocked. He did not expect that his overall strength would suddenly soar to a level that even he could not imagine. At this time, the number of cultivators in the Jianmu had reached 30 million. In addition, there were more than 100 million ordinary people. Most of them were the G people. These ordinary people were not useless. They were the ones who formed the lowest level of society in the entire Jianmu world. Among the cultivators, there were nearly 4,000 Dao Integration Realm cultivators. Most of them were experts that Su Fang had subdued in the prison suppressing codex. There were also people from the G people and the G people's vassal forces. These people would be Su Fang's most elite subordinate. Most of the other cultivators were at the True God Realm and Heavenly God Realm. There were also quite a number of Divine Emperor Realm and Godly Venerable Realm cultivators. In addition, Su Fang still had a clone of mystery in his hand. It was equivalent to having a supreme venerable as his subordinate. However, Mystery's clone could still be used twice more unless they found the 9 nether embryonic stone that Mystery mentioned. However, Su Fong had the prison suppressing codex and could constantly suppress expert. At this time, a clone of the G people's ancestor was shackled within the prison suppressing codex. Its cultivation was equivalent to a peak Lord level expert. Such a powerful force was definitely a super force comparable to those ancient god clans in the myriad world. It could at least be ranked in the top 100. However, it wasn't easy to feed so many subordinate. QL11. It was obviously unrealistic to rely on Su Fong alone. Su Fong would not support idle people. The strict laws set by Shu Yunkong and the others were not only rules to restrict their subordinates, but also a system to reward and punish them. Everyone's contributions were different, so they would receive different identities and statuses. At this time, the Jianmu world was an independent divine realm. It would take a long time to integrate such a large force. Su Fong left a clone to oversee the Jianmu world. The specific matters were all handed over to the elders and loyal subordinate. Su Fong did not like power. Xian Yintian, Shu Yunkong, Xian Lingzi, and the others had experience in managing dojos, sects, and forces. Su Fong was relieved to leave all the major matters to them. They never dreamed that they would have the opportunity to manage such a large force and command so many experts. Although they were very busy, they were never tired of it. Next, it's time to go to the Dubhe Hall and get the resources that belong to me. After settling all his subordinates, Su Fong activated the Son of Saints token and entered the Dubhe Hall. The supreme existence of the imperial people had personally promised that Su Fong could get whatever he wanted. With such a good opportunity, how could Su Fong miss it? The Dubhe Hall gathered the best treasures and resources of the Yuan Tiangong. Su Fong had long coveted them. Unfortunately, he did not have enough merit points. How could he not plunder them? Chapter 23:51. Su Fong appeared in Dubhe Hall. Swish, swish. This immediately attracted countless gazes. At this time, in Yuan Tiangong, it was possible to not know of a certain venerable emperor, but there was no one who did not know of Su Fong. Even the supreme martial artist of Yuan Tiangong, the countless existences of the imperial people, was slapped in the face by Su Fong. The Ji people's first ancestor, a venerable emperor, died because of him. The Ji people were also destroyed because of him. Although no one knew what methods Su Fong had to enter the exalted celestial mountain, the only hope of the entire universe rested on him. Who would dare to show the slightest disrespect to such a figure? However, everyone kept a respectful distance from him. No one dared to approach him. They felt that he was like a god of plague. Not only had the Su Fong offended countless powers, he had even offended the imperial people and the supreme existence of the imperial people. Even a fool knew that after 100,000 years, regardless of whether he succeeded or failed in entering the celestial worthy mountain, he would not be able to escape the fate of being suppressed by the imperial people. At this time, if he had any relationship with the Su Fong, it would be tantamount to asking for trouble, so everyone kept a respectful distance from him. Su Fong, you also came to the Alpha Hall to exchange for treasures? A young man walked towards Su Fong. It was Sun Qi. Sun Qi and Shu Jiayue had already become Dao companions, which meant that they were also half of the Shu clan. At this moment they were still cultivating in the mysterious realm. Exchange for treasures? That's not it. Su Fong chuckled. Sun Qi, come with me to get the treasure. Do you dare? If there are treasures to be taken, what's there to be afraid of? Sun Qi's gaze suddenly became incomparably spirited. He arrived at the array space where he could exchange all kinds of heavenly materials and earthly treasures. The two of you, what treasures do you need to exchange for? Allow me to guide you. Ah, Su Fong's holy son. A beautiful woman came to greet them. At first, her attitude was very cold, But after recognizing Su Fang, her beautiful face suddenly turned pale, and she couldn't even speak clearly. He hurriedly led Su Fang to a room created by formations and divine abilities. Su Fang nodded and said, "Bring me the list of all the treasures and let me take a look." Yes. The woman quickly left. After a while, a middle-aged man entered the room. He was the person in charge of this place. "Holy Son Su Fang, this is a list of all the heavenly materials and earthly treasures you need. Please take your time to choose." The middle-aged man respectfully handed over a dozen jade slips to Su Fang. There were truly too many treasures in Dubhe Hall. Just the list of the various treasures filled over a dozen jade slips. Su Fang said casually, "There's no need to choose. Bring me all the treasures according to the list." Ah! The middle-aged man was dumbstruck. Then, he stammered, "Holy Son, with so many treasures, the amount of merit points required to exchange them, I'm afraid. He wanted to say that he couldn't afford Su Fang, but he didn't dare to say it out loud. Sun Qi was also shocked and stunned. He did not understand what Su Fang was trying to do. No one could exchange for all the heavenly materials and earthly treasures at once. Even an Emperor Realm Master could not possibly have so many merit points. Did I say I wanted to exchange for all the treasures? Su Fang revealed a domineering smile. The unsurpassed Emperor clan existence personally promised that as long as this saint's son takes a fancy to any treasure in Primordius Heavenly Palace, I can freely take it. Of all the treasures on this list, I have taken a fancy to them all. The middle-aged man was a late-stage Dao integration cultivator. He couldn't even speak now. "What? You dare to disobey the supreme existence of the imperial people?" Su Fang said majestically. A domineering aura that surpassed that of a Dao integration cultivator spread out. "It's just that the supreme existence of the imperial people only allowed you to take those treasures that are useful for your cultivation. He did not say that you can take all the treasures in one go. How do you know which treasures I can use and which I can't? Moreover, even if I can't use them, can't my subordinates use them?" "But Saint Su Fang's subordinates are not you. I'm about to enter the heavenly Venerate Mountain, so my subordinates will naturally be brought in. They are a part of my strength. In the future, they will contribute to the heavenly Venerate Mountain. Improving their strength is to fight for more hope for the heavenly Venerate world. If you refuse, can you bear the responsibility if something goes wrong in the heavenly Venerate Mountain in the future?" A layer of sweat appeared on the middle-aged man's forehead. He felt the pressure of the entire world enveloping his body. But how could the subordinates of the Holy Sun use so many treasures? I have more than 100 million subordinates. No matter how many treasures there are, they can still be used. So many. Saint, please wait a moment. Let me ask the higher-ups for instructions. The middle-aged man trembled as he spoke. Then, he left the room. In less than 5 minutes, the middle-aged man returned. His face had turned pale, and his whole body was trembling. Then, a divine light swept out from his right hand, enveloping a large number of storage rings. There were more than 10,000 of them. Under Sun Qi's almost dazed gaze, Su Fang waved his hand and kept all the storage rings into his body. Then, he split a portion of his essence spirit consciousness and entered the storage rings. An adult primordial earth flame. There's even a heaven-grade divine core. 9 lives intermittent grass. The spirit items and materials made Su Fang's eyes shine brightly. These spirit items and materials were all treasures that Su Fang used to covet like a flock of ducks. Unfortunately, he was embarrassingly short of money, and any one of them was out of his reach. Now they were actually all his, just like the goods from roadside stalls. How could he not be surprised and happy? However, with Su Fang's current cultivation level, the treasures that used to be fatal to him were not very useful to him now. Most of them were useless to him. resources that were attractive to some powerful sovereigns and supreme sovereigns rarely appeared in Dubhe Hall. Those spirit items were all creation grade and extremely rare. It was impossible for them to be taken out for Yuan Tiangong geniuses to cultivate. Even sovereigns would trade for treasures of this grade in private. They were not very useful to Su Fang, but they were very useful to his subordinates. With so many treasures, Su Fang's overall strength could quickly rise by a large step. Unfortunately, there's no 9 nether embryo stone. Su Fang searched all the storage rings, but he did not find the 9 nether embryo stone. He was somewhat disappointed. The 9 nether embryo stone was a gemstone condensed from the essence of heaven and earth. It was necessary for Yu's clone. Su Fang had never heard of it before. He had hoped to find it in Dubhe Hall, but it seemed that he had been too impatient. The treasures needed by sovereigns could not be found here. However, Su Fang found all kinds of spirit items that could help the Golden Rainbow King reconstruct his physical body among these treasures. The Golden Rainbow King was pleasantly surprised. Many thanks. Su Fang led Sun Qi, whose face was filled with shock, away in embarrassment. The middle-aged man was like a wooden puppet. He stood in a daze in the room for a long time before finally muttering to himself, "Could this holy sun Su Fang be the reincarnation of the locust big goblin?" Su Fang picked out some useful treasures for Sun Qi's cultivation from the looted treasures and gave them to him. Sun Qi, who had unexpectedly obtained these treasures, was extremely excited. He left Dubhe Hall with a face full of surprise. After that, Su Fang went through every hall in Dubhe Hall. Everywhere he went, it was like a locust swarm had passed through. All kinds of pills, magic treasures, resources, and even cultivation methods and divine ability manuals were plundered clean. Even the Golden Rainbow King, a bandit who had once roamed the heavens, was full of admiration for Su Fang. "Su Fang, you are simply too ruthless. You are even more ruthless than I was back then. I can't help but admire you from the bottom of my heart. As the calamity worsens, the resources of the heavens will become increasingly scarce. If I don't take advantage of this opportunity to make a fortune, how can I rapidly increase my overall strength? After I enter Celestial Worthy Mountain, if I fail, the supreme existence of the imperial people will definitely not let me off. If I succeed, he will not let me off either. Only by increasing my strength as quickly as possible can I have the capital to survive. How can I not be a little crazy?" It's not just the treasures in Dubhe Hall. Apart from the sovereigns, I won't let go of the treasures and resources in the hands of the other overgods as long as they are useful to me. Especially the purple aura Dharma spirit. In the past, I didn't dare to touch Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. This time, I will plunder the purple aura Dharma spirit from him. When that happens, the purple aura Dharma spirit will undergo another shocking transformation. Su Fang's goal was very simple. He wanted to plunder as much as he could and rapidly increase his strength. Principles and rules were all meaningless. Only strength was the way of the king. After plundering Dubhe Hall, Su Fang was still unwilling to give up. He headed straight for the depths of Dubhe Hall. Su Fang still had 2 targets left, the Artifact Hall and the Pill Pagoda. The Artifact Hall and the Pill Pagoda had gathered the best artifact refiners and alchemists in the heavens. They naturally did not lack various pills and magic treasures. How could Su Fang miss out on this opportunity? Furthermore, Su Fang was determined to obtain the primordial purple gas in the Artifact Hall. With the divine power of the Saint's token, Su Fang flew past layers of unfathomable enchantments. Finally, he entered the depths of an ocean-like enchantment. Suddenly, he was just 1 step away. In front of him was an extremely clear giant mountain. The Artifact Hall was not a palace. Instead, it was an extremely lofty and majestic mountain. On the mountain, there was a training ground that was specially used for refining weapons. Su Fang's figure flashed, and he arrived at the peak of the mountain. "Su Huang, welcome to my Artifact Hall. A divine radiance tore through the air and quickly condensed into Mo Tiangong's figure. After the selection of the artifact hall, Heavenly Fire Divine Lord was too ashamed to preside over the artifact hall. Hence, Mo Tiangong took advantage of the situation and became the hall master of the artifact hall. Su Fang cupped his fists and said, "Greetings, senior." Mo Tiangong chuckled and teased, "Greetings, Su Huang. I dare not accept your greetings." Su Huang? Su Fang was surprised. QL 11-inch, it's the Huang from the Locust clan. Mo Tiangong laughed loudly. You still don't know, right? You've been plundering without restraint. Now, the news has already spread throughout Yuan Tiangong. You've been given a title, Su Huang. Ha ha ha, Su Huang. Su Fang was speechless and smiled bitterly. This was not a good reputation. Then, Mo Tiangong changed to an essence spirit transmission. Su Fang, you can take whatever magic treasures you want in the artifact hall. However, I have a request.